Hi, I'm Timmy.
And I'm Mary Jane. He's the newbie,
She's the doobie, and this is the show
where we
tote
cannabis
talk.
from both sides.
Is that even possible?
This podcast is for adults only, should not be used as a meal replacement, and may contain nuts.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Newbie and the Doobie. My name's Timmy. I am the newbie.
Hi, Mary Jane, also known as the doobie.
Coming up on today's show,
We've got Word of the Week,
we also have a high five list,
Mary Jane strain.
and we're doing a live pee test.
Well, in all fairness, we're not going to pee live for you to see, right?
Oh, we're not bringing the cameras in? How are they going to know it's legit? Maybe we're doing some chicanery.
We have shenanigans.
Shenanigans?
We
Isn't
have
chicanery
security.
A word? Is chicanery a word?
I don't know.
No.
It's
Are there
it sounds like an old school, like, you know.
I hope there's
you
no
wanted to-
security cameras in the camera.
In the
Or in
camera?
the camera.
In the
you guys
bathroom?
you guys are just gonna have to trust us on this one. We do have our trusty director producer Emilio is gonna make sure
The man of many hats.
yeah, that he's gonna make sure that nobody is switching pee cups out.
Yes.
It will be absolutely legit. But that's coming up later in the show. I think that could be a first. Has anybody done a live pee test?
I don't know.
on a
Is there ever a
podcast?
reason to do a live pee test?
I don't know. There's podcasts for everything. Maybe there's a legitimate podcast out there is like, hey, welcome to another episode of the live pee test show. And maybe they do pee test I don't know. Who knows? Something for everyone.
We should pee test everybody. And if they come up negative for cannabis, you can't be on the show.
Well, then I might not be on the show.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But that's actually what we're going to try to find out today.
Yes, that is.
Right? The whole reason of the pee test is because of all the talk about secondhand smoke. Me being the newbie, when was the last time that I physically consumed?
It would have been 2019.
Okay, so we're talking all, like a year and a half for sure.
I'd say about 2 years.
Almost 2 years.
Yeah.
So people have talked about secondhand smoke, whether or not it affects you. I say no.
Which I laugh at, and so do all of my consumer friends. We're like,
I have seen no effects of the
secondhand high. See, we've discussed
secondhand high. We have talked about the fact that maybe it's in my system, which is why we want to do the pee test to see if there are traces of cannabis in the newbie's body.
Yeah.
Just by hanging out with the doobie.
Which, I mean, in all fairness, I think you do. I'm really excited.
We haven't. So we haven't done this earlier to see if will the results be in our favor.
Well, I did test one of the tests myself just to make sure that it did work.
Right.
And it does.
It
says
cannabis.
Well, it says you need 3 minutes. Mine took all of 30 seconds.
Right.
It was like, yep.
Yeah, if it said that you had no cannabis trace in your system,
we wouldn't be doing this.
We wouldn't be doing this test. So the question now will be, now that it's been tested, that it should show up again today. We'll let you do yours first today.
Okay.
That it should show that you have it. Then we get to the real moment of the show. Does the newbie have cannabis in his system? Do you want to like put a guess out there now? Do you want to predict?
No, because I say yes.
I say absolutely no. I say there is. It's not. It hasn't gone into me. It's
you know
not
the
affecting
difference
me in any way.
between me and you when we're sitting in that room together?
In the bathroom peeing?
No, the room that I'm smoking in.
What's the difference?
I get a filter.
Oh, yeah. The smoke is coming to me completely unfiltered.
You're just breathing the smoke in. Although it is exhaled smoke and just smoke that's burning away, but I still think you're going to be surprised by
but
this.
How in the world, like I think you've used the term hotboxing before, right? And I think like I've been hotboxed without even thinking I'm being hotboxed,
Yeah.
right? Just
Yeah.
by being in a vehicle or whatever.
So, do you know what a super is?
A super?
It's-
like the
it-
guy who looks after an apartment building.
No,
Hey,
it's-
call the super.
Okay, so I guess I called it by its short form. It's a super toke.
Okay, I don't know what a super toke is.
Okay, so it's when you know when I smoke a joint, I put the filter to my lips and I inhale. I don't
Correct.
put like the fire end anywhere near my face.
No, that is true. I can confirm that is a legit way for you to smoke.
Okay, so a super is when somebody will take the joint. Can I borrow that marker? I'm not actually going to do it because I don't know where this has been. But
And just in my hand.
So if this is the fire end,
Yeah, that's the
they
fire
would
end.
take the fire and put it in their mouth.
Who does that? Nobody
Okay,
does that.
Okay, people do this.
Like fire eaters, like in Hawaii. When
No, okay, listen. So they take the cherry,
Yeah.
the cherry and the hot part, and put it into their mouth very
Yeah.
carefully as to not burn their tongue or the inside of their mouth.
Yeah.
And they wrap their lips around it like this, and they blow.
So they have the
me.
fire in their mouth and then they blow.
They blow out. So what happens is what they're doing is instead of the smoke coming out at like a normal pull,
Yeah.
what's happening is the smoke's being forced out of the filter side. And you're going, why in the heck would anybody be forcing the smoke out?
Yeah, everything about this process makes me go, why in the heck?
So that's when you have a partner come in front of you and cup your hands in front of the joint so that way you get all the
It
smoke
seems
coming
like a
out.
lot of work.
It's a super toke. And I will tell you, it looks
Yeah.
funny because there you and your buddy are and you're like
Yeah.
on each other, but I haven't done it in a long time, mostly because it like burns your lips because it's really
Yeah,
hot.
because there's
but-
fire in your mouth. Yeah. Surprise, surprise.
So you
doobies.
don't know what a super toke
I don't
is.
I don't understand why my mouth is burning. Because there's fire in your mouth?
Well,
Who-
some of us might have
Okay.
burnt our tongues every once in a while.
We have talked. Look, I am not anti-cannabis. I'm not anti-stoner. In fact, I have said multiple times on this show and in private that you guys, the you guys,
Yeah.
are ingenious. The ingenuity that we've talked about, because you come up with these really like when we teaching Timmy a few episodes ago, you taught me how to, if you're stranded on a desert island that used to have people and you're like, I have no bong, and but you find a water bottle, maybe it was washed up on the shore, and you're like, oh, there's a pen that an occasional strandee
It
had
just
a while
happened to
ago.
have a metal lid
But
on
you
it.
showed me how to make it, and I'm just like, that's ingenious. Only a stoner comes up with going, how do I make a bong out of a water bottle?
Well, that's
And-
because we love our cannabis. So we will try and find any way to get it in us, and even quicker, which is why the super, I think, was invented. But my point behind that was if somebody can give somebody else a super, and they get high by blowing the smoke at them, and you're sitting in the room
Right.
where there is smoke,
Yeah.
that's why I'm like, you're going to test positive.
Yeah, but that's pretty okay. But let me go back to my previous point, which was before we talk about that particular thing, I want to make it clear. I give you credit for the positive things that stoners come up with, but I will also point out only a
What
stoner.
negatives?
Only the stoner goes, why don't we put the fire end in our mouth? Hey,
No,
come
no,
close.
that's
Let's blow
not
it at
that's
each
not
other.
how it went. It went, how do I get this to come out faster?
Okay.
Right.
And
They
that's
actually
how-
make
Yeah.
bongs, or not bongs, because it's a smoking device where it has a bowl on the top
Yeah.
and like a fan type thing inside, like that sucks the smoke out and blows it at you super fast. It's way too intense.
Yeah.
It's like, shut it off, shut it off.
Okay, so you're saying that within this process of the super toke, if the person on the other side, and so what, are you like literally face to face? 'Cause
Yeah.
you're- It's so creepy. So
I'll
you're-
show you
so-
later.
Right, so you're saying that the other person that the smoke is being blown at, they're going to get high from that smoke
Just from
being blown
inhaling
at
it,
them.
yeah.
So you're saying that when I'm sitting on the bed, so we kind of sit side by side on the bed, watch TV, and you're smoking.
It's funny because the air conditioner's on your side, and it somehow always the smoke will go shh right
Yeah,
towards
literally,
you.
your pot smoke.
It does it with cigarette smoke
It's like
too.
it's like
the
a
non-smoker.
Cat. It's like a cat who out of the entire house goes, hey, I'm going to walk right over that board game on the floor that you guys are playing.
No,
That's what
it's
happens.
worse. It's
Is
worse.
it?
It's the
What?
cat that goes after the only person in the room that's allergic
Yeah.
and sits right on them, and it's the long-haired cat.
I was trying to give you a not worse picture, but you actually took the whole scenario
You know what?
right to where I didn't want to take
You know
it.
what?
It is worse.
I love cats, but it is one of those things, even as because I
smoke
don't
just
smoke
drifts.
cigarettes. Same thing happens to me when I go out somewhere. The cigarette smoke
right.
always wafts towards the
so
non-smoker.
in your theory,
Yes.
because I have had smoke waft naturally to me
Waft.
so often in open spaces and closed spaces
Mm-hmm.
for the last couple years,
Yep, too.
I clearly should have some trace in my system.
Yep.
That is coming up on the show. Listen, for the record, too, I have to go to the bathroom right now, but I won't be because we're saving it. Like, I've been drinking a ton of
Okay,
water
okay.
to build this up. And everything in me naturally was like, oh, you should go to the bathroom before the show. And I'm like, no, because we have a pee test. So I plan on, I'll be drinking more water during these first opening segments than normal because I want to make sure this happens. I even have a side bottle of water ready to go.
So, just so you're aware, we literally only need like a little tiny, like, what are those things called? The pipettes?
Well, I am. I don't know. Is this
pipette.
is this a medical? This is just medical facts.
Okay.
I am currently in the 40-ish range, and sometimes just naturally you can get enough to do a pee test. I guess it's just kind of like
I think you're good at 40. If you're not good at 40, we have some issues.
I plan on doing. Maybe my goal will be to fill that blue cup. I don't know. Anyways.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
The best thing about doing shows like this, where we literally are doing it live, in at least recording live, is that anything can and probably will go wrong. And if anything,
That jacks you up. It
I get
really does.
I get excited about that. People say, "Don't you fear going on stage and like having it live?" And even when we were talking about the format of this podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and I was adamant, no cuts. We do this thing, and even when
Oh,
we
you
do.
drive me crazy, especially with
And
TikTok.
when we do
with that.
TikTok,
Oh
it's,
my
it's
god!
like, well, let's do like all these little tiny segments in the 15, and it's like, no, if we got to do this thing like a minute straight, 2 minutes straight.
I tell you, I'm like, people like cuts.
I know they like cuts, but I like the
Creatively,
one shot.
it hurts you. I know.
It does.
I know.
I like the one shot thing. So
But
that's what this show is.
you've because of that, it's improved a lot of my ability to remember things going forward because you're like, no, do it again. No, we got to do it again.
Right?
Do it again.
Like right now, we know that.
Except that jumping off the boat one, we had one take only.
That's the best.
Oh man,
Well, and that's what's going to happen with this pee thing. We have one shot at this.
that's true.
I mean, we can always do it again on another episode, but for the record, just so you know, if it doesn't go the way it's supposed to go, you're
That's it.
seeing it. You're
Yep.
seeing it live.
Yep.
That's what's going to happen. I did want to take a moment before we get into some of the things we want to talk about for High Five List and Mary Jane Strains, Word of the Week. There's a whole
Yeah.
lot going on here. Today was a really interesting day.
That's right.
And it's
There's a reason why I'm wearing my space garb.
your space garb.
Again, because we just had Moon Day
We did
not that long
Moon
ago.
Day / Space Day
Yeah.
slash Inner Space Outer
and this
Space Day.
is still space.
Yes. Today is Pluto Demoted Day.
Yes.
Today
How sad is
Today is
that?
the anniversary that the planet Pluto.
You can't say that.
Well, no. So.
Oh, I guess that is correct
The
at that
planet
point.
Pluto was demoted to non-planet status.
So what is it now, though?
A
Star?
No, I don't know. It's a,
Stars are
a
planets,
floating
aren't they?
orb.
It's gas?
Is it a gas orb? I don't know.
Just call it Pluto?
Yeah, I don't even know. It's a mini planet, maybe. I don't know. Look, we're not scientists or doctors or anything. We just simply talk about things that
just
may or may
Google.
not be true. But Pluto was demoted. Now that ticked me off because I'm all for things changing. People who fear change or don't want the world to change are handicapping themselves from fully experiencing life. Change happens all the time. Even as we're going through COVID, people are like, oh, I can't wait for us to get back to normal pre-COVID. And that completely misses the fact that there is no normal, never. Life is constantly evolving, constantly changing. Just most of the time it moves so slow that you can't actually tell that the change has happened until a decade later and you realize, oh, wait a minute, there was a time where we didn't have cell phones. But we just kind of get to this place, right? So what ticked me off about Pluto being demoted was for years I was told by people I trusted. This is why I don't trust authority anymore. Kids, if you're listening to this, and you shouldn't because it's only 18 and up, but if you're sitting down with a parent who's like, yeah, you can listen to these people, let me tell you this. Don't trust your teachers. They don't know. The scientists don't even know. They said Pluto was a planet. Now all of a sudden it's not. 1 + 1 = 2, maybe not in the future. We don't know. They're figuring stuff as we go. So don't trust anything, okay? So here's the thing. We used to make these mobiles. Do you remember making mobiles in school? You know mobiles where you...
Yeah, like the ones for babies.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we would have to do the universe. And we would go back in my day. I don't know what it was like in your day. Now they just make a digital mobile probably. They just draw it on the computer. So we had to do these mobiles, and we'd go and get these styrofoam balls, all different sizes for all the different sized planets, right?
And you had to paint them.
And you'd paint them, and you'd hang them up on the little ropes off the little string, right? And it was impossible, though. You had to find Pluto. You had to get the smallest styrofoam balls, but you can't buy them as one. You have to buy them in packs of 12.
I cheated. I used marbles.
Oh.
I just used a small marble.
Oh, see, your generation was more advanced than mine. We stuck with these styrofoam.
I think now they do VR, not digital.
Every year, I had to go buy another pack because, all the way up from kindergarten to like grade 4, maybe. Every year, I got to go buy another pack of 12 small ones because I'd lose the pack from before.
Yeah.
So by the time I get to like grade 4 and I'm doing my mobile, I got like 37 Pluto balls hanging somewhere around my house. And then they're like, hey, guess what? It's not even a planet.
So you should be happy. You didn't have to buy those little balls anymore.
No, I'm not happy because, well, first of all, I'm not asked every year to make outer space mobiles anymore. And by the time I got to high school, that was a thing of the past as well. The thing is, though, is that time is important. Time is money. And as a child, I was investing time to find these styrofoam balls, put the styrofoam ball on the mobile, paint it up properly. I don't even know if Pluto looked like how they described it. And then, ultimately, they say all that time you spent to get those precious marks, they'd be like, yep, you're right. It's like, I shouldn't even got 10 out of 10 because Pluto's not actually a planet. My marks are a lie now because I probably I failed that project. I put a planet in that wasn't even a planet. It just, people wonder, Timmy, does anything bother you? Because you look so calm and collected.
What gets you going?
Yeah. What gets me going? You can't just demote a planet. I spent a lot of time in my early life invested in creating mobiles that had Pluto as a planet, and they stripped it away from me. I trust no one.
There is so much of that story that I'm like, okay, first of all, why is our school making children do these friggin' mobiles? Honestly, I just, yeah.
A lot of time spent doing mobiles. It was either, growing up, do mobiles or weave cutout construction paper to make placemats for your mom. That was my favorite one.
Ours were baskets.
Oh,
but it was the same thing. It was the why did we spend so much time weaving?
I don't know. We like weaving. Weaving was an important
Why
skill.
didn't they teach us gardening?
Well, they were teaching. Yeah, they don't teach you how to do a budget.
No.
They don't teach you how to do like real life skills. But they taught us weaving because weaving was an important life skill 30 years earlier.
And they taught us about a planet that's not actually a planet.
Yeah. Why don't you start teaching us things that we're going to use in the future as opposed to things that used to be, hey, I hated in grade 3 when we were learning about how to look after horse hooves properly. Because when was the last time anybody worked with a horse hoof? Anyways,
where
doesn't
did
really
you
matter.
go to school?
Well, first of all, I grew up in Toronto,
40?
and you can't even in Toronto they're anti-horse. You can't even drag a dead horse through the streets of down on Yonge Street. I think after 3 a.m, you can still get a fine for that.
Afternoon on Sunday.
Oh, is it on Sunday?
Yeah.
Anyways, it's a bad horse rule.
It's a bylaw they need to change.
Yeah, they absolutely think change is good, except when it comes to planets. And just name them planets. Leave it at that. Anyways, that's I wasn't even planning to do a what gets me going, but that's I guess
It just kind of came
I
out.
guess that's my what gets me going. I'm gonna drink more water.
All right.
What's our word of the week?
Okay. So our word of the week is shatter.
Shatter. Mm-hmm. To shatter, to break.
And yeah, kind of. Yeah. So that's actually why it's named shatter, is because it's very brittle and it breaks and it looks like glass.
Okay.
So shatter is part of the concentrate family, the extracts. It's very high in THC. I knew you'd know those
Right.
words.
I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
learning these words.
So it's created by using a solvent that's used to extract the cannabinoids from the plant. It's, like I said, it's a solid piece. It has the glass-like appearance in a light golden color up to like a dark brown, anywhere in between. You cannot smoke shatter in like a joint because of the texture of it. You're going to need a special device like a dab rig or a portable vape device. I had brought in my favorite little device here, Shatterizer. This one is their very first model, and I have to, I would not be doing any justice if I did not pull out. They launched this on 7/10 of this year, and it is their bubbler. It comes in like this nice little case right here.
Nice.
I'm not going to pull it all out, but this is what it looks like.
That's a cool device. By the
It
way,
is super
not
cool.
not a paid advertisement.
No.
You actually believe in this product.
I love
And believe in Shatterizer.
Not only are they like they stand behind a quality product, but they also are an amazing team, more like a family than a company, really. And Canadian, they're Canadian. They're right from Toronto.
Yeah.
So I mean, like great people, great company, great product.
It looks super cool.
That is the bubbler, and that is a kind of like it's a combination between a rig and a travel portable model. Because like most serious dabbers, if you're a concentrate user, you've got a dab rig, you've got a torch or an e-nail or all that other fun stuff that they're actually like adding more stuff that I have to go and do some more research because it's been a while since I've been in.
So shatter is a type of concentrate.
Yep.
So when you said sort of, when I said shatter means to break,
Yeah.
why is it called shatter? Like because there's a breaking down process? What is
No,
it?
it's literally so what happens when they create shatter is there's actually two products that you can get. It's shatter and wax. And I wanted to touch a little bit on wax because the difference between shatter and wax is in the final processing. And shatter is left to harden.
Okay.
And it kind of looks like Swiss cheese sometimes. It has like holes in it and it's very golden and flat. If you try and take it out, it breaks. So you'll have to take like little pieces and put it into your Shatterizer or your dab rig. And wax, in order to create wax, it's more like, imagine like, earwax.
Yep.
Kind of looks like that. It's got the same texture. It's like soft and gooey. And that has been agitated in the final process. It's not left to sit.
Okay.
So basically they're whipping the
Whip it
product.
real good. Dun, 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 dun.
so it's not as brittle and it makes it easier to scoop.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can use a little tool and scoop it out.
So you put a little bit into that contraption there, the Shatterizer.
Inside the coil inside here, yeah. Which
And,
it's really gummy. Just like that.
What I'm trying to think is, do you get, because it's a concentrate, I'm assuming, because
Yeah.
I've been learning. So here's the thing, folks. You got to follow this show from the beginning because MJ's been taking us through this
trail.
this word of the week thing that all kind of flows together. So because I've learned what concentrate is, so you would be able to take a puff of that out of a Shatterizer, and it would give you a quicker, faster high than smoking a joint. Yes. No.
The way you said it, I'm going to say no.
Okay.
But you are somewhat right, and I'll explain it to you why. Because it's not that it gets to you faster. It's a higher THC. So you need less.
Okay.
You need a lot less. I would smoke a whole joint
Yep.
where I would take 2 puffs.
And it would do.
It's about the same for me.
So would you save money using shatter?
No, because you have to use more flour
to concentrate
create
it.
Exactly.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, but the benefits of creating or smoking a product like shatter over flour is because you're not actually burning the shatter. You're getting all of the terpenes, the flavonoids. You're tasting a lot more. It's like if there's such a thing as a cleaner smoke. I know cannabis consumers say, yeah, it's a nice, smooth, clean smoke. I don't know if there is such a thing, but the fact that you can taste everything. It's kind of like if you were a wine connoisseur, like you would be able to taste the notes.
All right. So shatter, if you're going to use shatter, why not use the shatterizer?
I was just going to say, right?
Right? The shatterizer.
I like that. Not a paid advertisement.
Not a paid advertisement. Is that it then? Is that word of the week?
That's it. That's the word of the week.
Word of the week is shatter. So once again, if you have been following us from the beginning, you'll have hopefully seen the progression of word of the week, taking us right back to the beginning, teaching not only newbies like myself, because I've been learning, because every time you mention something else, it's connected to things that you've already kind of taught me. But it's also been good. We've been talking about this, about the benefits of, for the doobie.
Yep.
Who maybe it's kind of like how how nice it is to sometimes go back to the basics. You get so invested, like as a comedian, sometimes I forget just some of the very kind of basic elements of putting a joke together, because it just becomes this natural thing. And sometimes it's like oh yeah, let's go back to like why is this pause important? Why does the pause go there? I just naturally put it in now. Yeah. And I think what we've been finding with Word of the Week, is based on what people have been telling us too, is that it's been nice to kind of go back. And even though the word is familiar to a doobie, it's nice to kind of go back and remind yourself of the basic elements and see the flow of how these words all connect.
Well, teaching, I really feel, has helped with that, as I'm sure you can relate with because I know you teach a couple people. A couple kids comedy.
Yeah, teaching is the best way to learn.
Right? It gets it fresh back in your mind again, things that maybe you wouldn't have thought about.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Like, I mean, I've been rolling joints for so many years that I wouldn't think, like I have to sit down and go, okay, if I just started smoking now or just got into cannabis, what would I want to know?
Right.
Where do I get it? How do I roll it?
Yep.
If I eat this, what's going to happen?
And that's why teaching Timmy's have been good as well. Let's do my high five list.
High five.
Okay, so just connecting it to Pluto being demoted.
Okay.
So my thought process for my high five list today, Timmy's high five list, is based on the fact that there was information about Pluto. They defined it as a planet. But as they learned more information, that previous information was kind of thrown out, and they realized they were going to have to make a change. So what my high five list today is cannabis facts that have been demoted in my mind. So it's things that I used to believe about cannabis based on what I was told and information that I had, and very little. We've talked about the fact of growing up in the world that I grew up in. There was a lot of misinformation and non-information. And so based on what I had, I created concepts of what I believed to be true about cannabis.
Okay.
And in this last couple of years and in time spent with you and talking to others and on this podcast, I now have demoted things that I thought about cannabis, and those facts have now been demoted. Does that make sense? Basically, stuff I used to believe and no longer believe.
Okay.
Okay. Here we go. Number 5 was that cannabis led to the word man. It was just connected. That if you smoked cannabis, you would say man
Mine
more
was
frequently.
Dude.
Man.
I used to say dude a lot.
Hey, man. Man, hey man, that's what I thought. So it was synonymous. It's like if you were saying man a lot, I was like cannabis smoker,
I wonder if that's the equivalent to today's bruh.
bruh.
Hey, bruh.
Is that with cannabis smokers?
I don't know. I say
know.
dude.
Well, this is the thing. At one point, I believed that they were connected. Now, anybody can say man a lot. They don't even have to be a cannabis smoker. But I assumed it was like cannabis smoker said man.
I was like, hey, man.
Hey, man. Right, exactly. Like
That's just Tommy Chong, yeah.
Right? Hey, man, right? Well, actually, because you sat me down to watch a movie, which we're going to talk about on a future episode. I'll be doing a cinema review. And they actually counted the number of times Tommy Chong said man.
Did they?
Yes.
Oh, is that because we watched the special edition of that movie?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
man.
So that's, oh, man. Wait, cannabis. Stoner.
Stoner. I just broke number 5.
So demoted. I no longer believe that man is synonymous
Even though I just said it?
Even though you just said it, because you don't say it all the time.
No.
Right? Okay. So there you go. Number 4 on Timmy's high 5 list of cannabis facts that have now been demoted is that cannabis was only used by a specific person. In my mind.
Yes. That's the one that I'm going after the most.
Right? I pictured, and this is where I believe cannabis users, hear me on this one. The pop culture environment that cannabis through the 80s, which is where I grew up, the 80s and the 90s, it did you a disservice. I believe it did you a disservice.
We'll see.
There was some funny stuff.
As a non-consumer, they looked at that pop culture image of a stoner and lumped all of us into that.
Yep.
And as a consumer, we all just, like, some of us thought it was funny. Other of us, like, there is part of the community that is very upset with Cheech and Chong for what they did to the community as a whole.
Because I thought everybody said, hey, man.
Right? But, like it's one of those things that's art. People need to see it as art and their characters. And, I mean, I think Cheech Marin proved that when he went on to do role after role on, Disney movies and television.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, I have nothing against the stoner flick. You've been making me watch a few.
Yeah, I love them.
And I enjoy some of them. I mean, just like in any genre, there's good stoner flicks and bad stoner flicks. There's good horror movies, bad horror movies, good,
But some could be said the same if we portrayed the police, for example,
like in
as
Police Academy.
No, that was just funny. But if we made them out to be the villain in every single movie we seen or television show, we would all hate police officers.
Yeah.
Which is why when you make all stoners stupid.
Which is why pop culture is. I am not someone who cancels and does all that. I think,
you don't believe in cancel culture.
No, creatively you create what you want to create. But and I believe that stereotypes are funny, and there's a reason why some stereotypes are stereotypes, because there's an element of truth.
Yep.
But I pictured the mid-20 to mid-30-year-old male living in his parents' basement, lying on a couch, doing nothing, no drive.
Let me guess, like tie-dye shirt, like a Shaggy, if you will.
And just saying, oh, man, like that. That's the picture, the picture that I saw, had no care for what he wore.
Yep.
Just kind of, just lying on a couch covered in in Doritos. Like that's those are the people that smoked pot. And as over the last few years, as you have introduced me to people, and as I've just been more open to the world of cannabis, my goodness, the amount of people who, from doctors and lawyers to, very successful people to unsuccessful people to men to women to old to young. We had Mimi Cannabis on a show.
Yep.
55-year-olds and up are a huge segment of the cannabis users. And a lot of them were hiding it for years when I was growing up, and I didn't know. So that number 4 on my list, that cannabis is used by a specific person, that fact has been demoted in my mind.
See, that's my favorite. That's why when I first started working in a glass store, people would walk in and they would like stop, look at the sign, and then look back in the store and be like, I didn't expect to see you working here. And I'd stop and I'd look around and be like, who were you expecting to see?
Tommy Chong.
Maybe.
Number 3 on my list of cannabis facts that have been demoted is that cannabis makes you lazy. My assumption was that cannabis makes you lazy. Smoke cannabis, you will be lazy. What I have since discovered, and why this fact has been demoted in my mind, is that if you were lazy before you smoke cannabis, you will be lazy, maybe lazier. Maybe it heightens it. But there are highly successful people, highly motivated people that smoke cannabis. So I don't think that cannabis causes laziness. I think there are lazy people using cannabis, but there are lazy people who don't use cannabis.
They're drinking coffee.
They're drinking coffee,
And still
drinking
being
alcohol.
lazy.
You know, maybe they're just playing games. Maybe they're just gamers. Maybe they watch too much Netflix. But my connection was smoke cannabis, you'll become lazy. And I think if anything, what it does, I think kind of in some ways, is that it brings out, it lowers some of kind of social inhibitions and allows you to kind of maybe, tear some of that down, and it brings out some elements that are truly you. So if you're already lazy, it might just make you more lazy, but it's not connected. Cannabis doesn't make you lazy. At least that's what I've discovered. So I demote that fact in my mind.
Okay.
Number 2 on Timmy's High Five list of cannabis facts that have been demoted is that weed is weed. We've talked about this. I use that phrase a lot. I used to believe that weed is weed.
That's actually a Tommy Chong phrase too.
Is it?
Yeah.
So
he
weed
says all
is
weed is just weed.
And I have since discovered, and as you've been doing, like teaching Timmy in Word of the Week and Mary Jane Strains and in our conversations just in life, the complexity of this plant is outstanding. The science in there, the fact that strains could be so radically different with one tiny change, the THC levels, you've shown me close-up pictures and how they're so different. Weed is not weed. It affects people differently. It's certain weed is good for certain things at certain times. The science behind weed, this is not a weed is weed. It is an incredibly complex plant that I'm blown away by. It is amazing how it is not weed is weed. And finally, number 1 on my list of cannabis facts that have been demoted is that cannabis has one purpose: to get you high. I used to believe that if you smoked a joint, the only reason you were smoking that joint was because you wanted to get high and escape life. And I have since found out that from that cannabis plant, we had Kelly from Kelly's Green Lounge talking about hemp and all the things, like we're talking about, like building like
hempcrete
houses and stuff like that. The CBD oils. The healing thing of the topicals, the tinctures, the edibles, the flower, and the concentrates / extracts.
Yes,
Nailed
good
it.
job.
All of those serve different purposes.
Yeah.
And so that whole concept of you only want to smoke pot because it makes you high, that has been demoted. So that is Timmy's High Five list of cannabis facts that have been now demoted as new information has been given to me.
That's a great list.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. I'm glad to say I helped with
Yes.
that.
And hopefully with this show, if you are a doobie listening to this show, don't just tell other doobies about the show. Tell newbies, because I'm learning on this show. And that's what we want to do. We want to entertain and to teach and to present this conversation in our own unique and fun way. But we want to...
I've always wanted to be a teacher. I just didn't want to actually go through the schooling and pay all the money.
Who does?
Help support me, teach you.
Right. So, but let's teach the doobies and the newbies. So that's my high five list for today.
Good high five.
Thank you. Mary Jane Strain.
Yes.
And then we're going to do our pee test.
All right.
I'm going to drink more water here.
And keeping with the theme of being demoted, I went with the strain called ex-wife.
The previous wife that's been demoted.
Yes. To me, that's the ultimate demotion, from wife to ex-wife. So this Sorry, I'm making you laugh. Choke. Yeah. Okay. So this is created by the company Quest down in BC. So it's BC grown. It is a craft cannabis strain. So, I love my craft cannabis, which means if you don't get it now, chances are you're not going to get this again because it's craft. Smaller batches, better quality.
It's like craft beer. I've heard about that. Okay,
Yes.
So it's the same sort of thing.
Okay. So Ex-Wife is actually a cross between Triangle Mints and Ghost OG. So it's extremely gassy. If anybody likes diesel or gas, this is the strain for you. Okay. It is a hybrid. It is very high in THC, ranges from 23.5% to 29.5% THC. I like how it says 29.5%. Like they had their half in there. That's how they're showing you they're precise. And the reason why you get such a range from like 23 to 29 is because sometimes you get a bag and is 23.5. And it's still, next time you get the same strain and it's 28.
Okay.
It's because depending on what part of the plant you get or which batch, where in the harvest it is, these are the THC ranges that they're actually getting. So they give you that so that way you don't get any less than 23, but it goes up to 29 and a half.
And a half.
And a half. So with the THC being extremely high, the CBD is almost non-existent with less than 1%. The terpenes, sorry, I forgot the word there. I almost called them terpenols. Is that a word?
If it's not, you could do it on Word of the Week next time.
Okay, I'll have to look that up. So the terpenes in this strain are bisabolol, I think. Okay. Caryophyllene or caryophyllene. They really should make these easier to say.
You've got a lot of Word of the Week possibilities within this Mary Jane strain.
Right. Linalool. Oh, yeah, and linalool. Okay. Bisabolol, caryophyllene, and linalool are the terpenes. The effects that some people have expressed feeling are relaxed, tired, and euphoric. Possible side effects, Timmy?
Wait. Possible side effects would be dry mouth and red eyes.
That's correct. Also, falling asleep because it will make you drowsy.
Yep.
So I just want to point out this specific strain, $54.95 for 3.5 grams. It's extremely expensive.
Wow.
And you can get this from the OCS website. However, you can't get it from the OCS website because despite how expensive it is, it's so well sought after that they're sold out. So if you find this, it's going to be at a local store. It's not going to be online. It is definitely worth, if you have the money to spend to try, I would suggest trying it. Because once you try it, it's probably a strain you'll be like, yep, I tried it. I don't want to waste my money on that again. Okay. Because to me, it's good, but it's not that good.
Yeah, because I was going to say, because you, right, am I right in saying, like, how much do you smoke a day?
I don't know. I don't want to talk about that.
Right, okay.
I smoke enough that I wouldn't be able to afford buying just that.
Right. So to me, that's kind of like when I got lobster.
Yes, once. It's a treat.
I've had it once, and I had some disposable income at the time, and so I went and I bought it, and it was way too much work. And it's one of those things of, okay, I bought it, I ate it, but I wouldn't pay that much for lobster again. But I paid for that one-time experience.
Well, it's more like a cake to take to your friend's barbecue. Like if you're going out to a gathering,
like bringing somebody
special,
a bottle of wine.
You splurge a little bit and you have something nice to smoke.
It's like a nice, yeah. It's like a celebratory.
I mean, and you can say you brought the ex-wife. Right. Who doesn't want to meet the ex-wife?
Right.
I say that, but some ex-wives are like, yeah.
I am bursting at the seams here, but I'm going to.
Are you?
I'm going to keep drinking more water.
I think I have stage fright. And I didn't even think. I'm like, Pluto demoted. And then we sat down and you said, we have to go do the pee test. And I was like, I am layered. And this bodysuit, for some reason, doesn't have snaps at the bottom.
Oh, so you'll be a little while.
Yeah, I hope you got a good story.
Okay. Well, I always have stories.
I know. I was like,
Give it-
sometimes I forget who I'm talking to.
Do
I've
you have a
asked Timmy,
particular
like,
story you would want me to tell?
I like the lawnmower story.
Wait, you want me to read a story?
No,
Okay, all right.
no, but I do like that story.
Okay.
And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you have to get Timmy's book.
Yeah, if I had my book in here, I would I could read that one. But you ready to do this P test?
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it time?
Yeah, it's time.
I'm nervous.
It is time to do the P test. So we literally here to end this show. Like I said, we've tested to make sure that the cannabis tester thing here actually works properly, and we know that it is shown that Mary Jane does have cannabis in her system. If it showed anything less than cannabis in her system, we wouldn't have been doing this test. So we know we've done the kind of the pre-test, but now we're going to do it officially.
The pre-test, the pre-P.
We're going to find out, and let's just refresh everybody's thing. I do not believe it will record me as having any cannabis in my system, but you do.
I feel like you should move your computer. Okay.
You think it's going to get messy?
I'm like sad there's no lid on these cups. I am clumsy. I'll probably let you do most of that. So just so everyone can see, I have written my name on my cup
Okay.
before I go.
That's the Mary Jane.
Yes.
Okay.
And you got the tests? You put the tests out?
Should I open these up?
Yeah, you can show them just from the dollar store.
Yeah, so we got these tests. So goodbye to Mary Jane. Everybody say goodbye to Mary Jane as she goes to take her P test. And our producer, director, editor, man of all jobs is making sure that nobody else has come into the building. Literally, it's just the three of us. So she will not be switching it out. He is not going into the washroom with her, but is currently watching the door. So anyways, we got these tests at just at a dollar store, but we did test them previously. Let's just, can I open it up? I can open it up. So this is what it looks like. Oh, interesting. Huh. Okay. I haven't even seen it because MJ did the test on her own. What is this? Contains harmless absorbent. So probably not part of the test. Looks like we've got a squeeze bottle. So I'm going to open that up. So this is what it is. So as you can see in there, something is going to happen on this this thing here. We've got a little squeeze bottle tester. So we're going to put that there. And we'll get the other one going. I'm excited about this. Like, here's the thing. I will stand regardless of what this test says. I do not believe that I have been mentally affected, maybe physically affected by secondhand cannabis smoke. I have hung out with MJ in a lot of close quarters while she and others have been smoking, and I do know that in the times that in the 3 times that I consumed cannabis over a year and a half ago, almost 2 years now, I do have a sense of what was happening to my head as I was consuming it, especially on the 3rd time, and even the 2nd. But I have not had anything remotely close to that since. So if there are traces in my body, I will accept the fact that it is possible. It's a little scary though, because it means that if I'm driving and I was ever to get pulled over, I don't know if they do cannabis tests or whatever. But if I was driving, it is scary the fact that I could possibly get tested for traces if I haven't consumed. So that's one benefit that we're going to find from this, is whether or not that could have that sort of effect. MJ is back, everybody.
Yeah.
MJ is back with a cup full of pee.
No, not full.
No, mine's going to be full.
I know how much we need. We just need a little bit.
So I've just been showing people kind of these as I've been opening them up.
Okay, make sure to bring some tissue for your.
Okay. So we're gonna put these off to the side, and.
So should I? I guess I should do mine while you're.
No. Let's do them together.
You want to do it together?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I'm just gonna down this water.
I didn't even drink any. Well, I did drink a little bit.
So how was the pee process? You were comfortable? It was good?
It was okay. I was a little nervous because like I had to do the one-piece bathing suit thing where you had to like tuck it over to the side. I guess you don't even know what I'm talking about. Girls would know if you have the one piece and you don't want to take it off.
What's it like? I
everything
can't even
down.
remember if I've ever had to. Oh, no, I've done a urine test before, long time ago, because I haven't been to a doctor in like a decade, I don't think. But what's it like? I'm about to experience it for myself, but like having to pee on command, was that easy?
No, it's okay. We drove, like 3 hours to get here? I didn't go since I left the house because I knew we were going to be doing this.
All right, I feel like I'm drunk. I was like, I just drank too much water. All right, here we go.
Do you
This is
even know
exciting.
what feeling of drunk is?
So am I taking this? All
Yep, put your name on it.
Here we
Make
go.
sure.
Timmy. There we go. Nobody switched it out. The cup has been made. You can see. Nothing in my pockets. No pee anywhere.
That's funny you say that. So, while you're gone, I just want to talk a little bit about cannabis testing or drug testing. So, when I used to work at the glass store, they sold testing kits as well as, I don't know what you would call them, but basically they're like pills or like a drink that you would take prior to doing the pee test that would actually give you a false negative. I don't really know how they work, but I guess it would make sense why people would want to use these, like those products, because if you had a job, like say you're a trucker, and this was most of the customers that we ended up getting were truckers because they used to get tested on the regular. It was something where they'd be like, they would work so many days and then they'd be off for so many days and then they'd work for so many days and, that would continue on. However, like they would only consume while they were at home, but they could still be at risk of losing their job if they were found to be, under, I don't even want to say under the influence, because in order to be under the influence is different than testing positive. And that's basically what we're trying to find out today, because Timmy, if test positive, that's going to be, to me, it's just going to be mind blowing, because that it potentially could put a lot of people's lives at risk just from being in the same room as somebody else who's consuming on a regular basis. So yeah, I'm really, really excited to find out how this is going to go, and anxious and impatient too. I just want to add, because I thought girls took longer in the bathroom. Now we're going to find out, because it's been recorded. Oh, were your ears ringing?
No. No, but...
That cup is really full. I have a bad gag reflex. There's a reason why there's like little bit in my cup. You keep your cup on that side of the table.
I filled the cup
And a
up.
single layer of toilet paper.
I filled the cup up.
Oh, you sure did. Oh,
Like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right.
you didn't even take your gloves.
Huh? Am I supposed to have gloves on?
No, it's too late now.
Oh.
Well, not really. You're
Well,
going to
not
be
really,
doing
no. Okay, so... All right. So are you
That's
done?
so typical. Do boys even wash their hands?
Yes, I washed my
Oh,
hand.
okay,
I
okay.
washed my hand. A cup full of pee. I don't think I can't remember if I've ever sat down with a cup full of pee, but here I am.
It feels weird.
Who knew when we started this podcast that we'd be sitting in a room with a cup full of
I
pee?
remember there's some ideas you throw out at me and I'm like no, not doing that. Not doing that. What was it, Barbie in a blender?
Barbie and a
Or something like that. I was like, we're not bringing a Barbie. No.
I'm so afraid I'm going to knock this over.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so are you finished telling whatever story you were telling?
Yep.
Okay. Why are you smiling?
No, you'll just have to wait to see the show to find out what I said.
Okay, so completely genuine. There we go. We got Timmy's and MJ's.
MJ's cup's got like this much in it. We're going to tilt it to get some out.
Okay. I haven't haven't peed that long in a while. Like I was
Yeah,
going.
yeah.
I'm going.
See
This
how
is
you're
really
saying this now?
This is really surprising to me. Like how long I peed. And let me just say this. I'm not ashamed at all about this, but I sit.
Oh yeah.
There's some.
I thought you were going
right?
to say something else. Yeah, I know you're not ashamed of that.
No, I sit when I go.
I
to the
think
bathroom.
all men should sit, to be honest.
Yeah, I do not. It's.
Why are you standing? You
Why-
stand the rest of your life
Yeah,
to sit.
let's sit, relax for a little bit.
Play on your phone.
A lot of people don't understand it. It's like it's just so much more relaxing and chill,
Can
cleaner.
we do this? I'm
Yeah,
so
yeah.
anxious. We got to
Yeah.
wait for it anyway.
But let me just say this:
Okay.
do you know how hard it is to fill a cup with pee when you're sitting on the toilet? Very, very
do.
difficult. Oh yeah, I guess so.
I do. Did you know you're supposed to, when doing a pee test, you're supposed to let out a little bit of urine first and then collect midstream because that's how you get the purest sample.
Do I need to go back and try again?
No.
Okay. All right. So here we go. So what do we have to do here?
So you just have to take a little bit of the pipette,
It's a shame.
a little bit of the, like, I don't even want to show anybody. It was
Wait,
like, what, pee?
I feel like though. Wait here. Wait.
Okay.
No, don't do it yet.
Oh my God.
Don't do it yet. Look. We're gonna. 'Cause I
He
wanna
does
be-
this in life too. It's not just in the studio.
All right. So let's.
You're going to record it?
Yeah. We're gonna record this. We're gonna try to get these angles in here.
We're on live and he's recording.
Okay. All right. Here we go. So this is MJ's pee
This
test.
MJ's pee goes in the drip spot there.
Okay.
Okay, it's full.
All right. And then do we wait for something to happen?
Just leave it.
We just leave it?
We let it be.
All right. Okay, here.
Oh, I gotta put that over there so it's not blocking
Here you
you.
go. I'm going to hand this to you. Take off your glove.
That's not the way you take off a glove, MJ.
All right, here we go. This is the beautiful thing of live. Okay, so here we go. So I want you to be able to come and be able to see. So what do I do? Just put this in?
On the small spot, not the big one.
Okay.
The big one is the window.
Do I squeeze it?
Oh, I just dropped your phone in the pee.
Okay, I think is that enough?
Do you have it filled?
No. How do I get it filled?
Oh, for all of you out there on Podcatcher Land, go to YouTube so you can see what is going on.
I think I got
Squeeze it while it's in the liquid,
Yeah.
and then let it suck up.
I got about half.
There you
It's about
go.
half.
That should be more than enough.
Okay. All right, so here we go. So then I just pour it into here.
Yep, drip it.
Couple drips.
Fill up the thing.
Okay.
Perfect. Now you can,
What do I do with this thing? Squeeze it into there?
yeah. Okay.
Shooting pee
Put your
into the cup.
pipette in here.
In there? All right.
Mine's pretty much empty. So.
All right. Okay, cool.
Okay, I feel like I should not put my pee cup next to my mug.
Wait, should I still keep my glove on?
Well, yeah, here, let me shut your phone off.
Okay.
Okie dokie.
All right. So now what happens?
We have to wait.
How long do we wait?
What'd the instructions say?
I don't know. I don't read the instructions. I'm a man.
Yeah, I knew. I was waiting for that. Look who's high now. You keep saying man.
Man.
You're the stoner.
Okay, so can I take this off? Or am I going to need these?
I think it should be all right. You should take it off. At least
Okay.
one.
All right, I'll take
If you take yours off, I'll deal with the rest.
Okay, so I'll take that one off. Okay, so
Can I take your cup? Can I go dump them? They're like, they make me nervous being on the table.
Yeah, well, just so you know, I like to document everything. So,
I did not know that about you.
yeah, there we go. So there, and then let's do this while we're waiting, folks, as we close off this show. There we go. There's our pee tests, and now you take one of me. So here we go. This is as real a science experiment as you're going to find right now. Does Timmy have cannabis in his system?
Okay.
Now do one like looking across. Really
Okay.
fancy like. There we go. Cool.
All
right.
fancy like.
All right. So I'm really quite interested. Is this what a pregnancy test is like?
This is like a pregnancy test.
Okay.
Sitting and waiting.
Now, is there any chance in the world this will tell me whether or not I'm pregnant?
No.
Okay. All right.
No.
All right. Am
All
I
right.
supposed
So
to
how many
read the rules?
minutes? Yes. Read the rules. It's like a game.
I'm
The
gonna read
game of life.
Read the rules. Okay.
Do you keep your job?
Let's see here.
It's funny. I had one job that actually said that they were going to test everybody for cannabis usage, and if they
seemed-
came up negative, that they were fired.
It seems like a lot of paperwork.
Oh, here, let me see.
This seems like a lot of paperwork for
For a dollar store pee
wait
test?
3 minutes and see whether or not you have cannabis in your system. I see like red lines forming. Is that an important thing?
Read results after 5 minutes.
Oh, so we got 5 minutes. All right. So we're gonna wait as these go down. Let's here's what we'd like to do for our final few minutes as we're waiting for this to happen. What are you concerned about?
How many lines do you have?
What do you mean? I have 3 lines.
What?
I have 3 lines. I have 3 little red lines.
Well, you should have 1 or 2. There is no 3 option.
There is. There's 3.
Well, you're not human then.
We're not supposed to bring that up.
Well, there's something wrong with your test then.
Whoa. Wait. Why?
Okay, so
Yeah,
it's
there's
showing
There's actually a 3rd line. Oh my goodness! I have some sort of weird
positive
gene.
is on the C. Negative is on both the C and the T. And if you're showing something on the T only, then it's invalid.
Okay. I have a darker line happening on the C right now,
Okay.
and a
light
less
line
a
on the
less line
T?
on the T, and then one down at the bottom. Oh no, that's not a line. Never mind. I lied. Not a line.
It's just wet paper.
Just wet paper. Yeah. But I definitely have a darker line forming on the C and a less light line on
Yeah,
the T.
it's showing that you're negative. I'm like in shock right now. It's showing you as negative and it's showing me as positive.
Okay. So I guess we can't actually lift it up.
No, put them side by side. We're gonna post a photo,
Yeah.
obviously, because we can't put them.
Okay.
I'm just gonna put it like that. Anyways, we'll do that after.
Hold on. Let's do this. I'm just gonna put a T on that one, so we know that one's mine. Okay. So right now you're pretty.
Like we wouldn't know.
So right now these are our closing thoughts here as we get ready to close off today's show. You're surprised by what's happening here on mine.
I am. I'm extremely surprised.
Like mine literally, it's not even a dark.
I want a do-over. I want to hotbox you.
It's not even a dark red line. Like yours. Yeah, yours is like clearly a C.
Yeah.
Like you don't even have a faint line on the other one.
No. Yeah, I'm a clear cannabis consumer.
So what does my faint line?
It just means you're negative.
So even though I have a dark line on the
Yep.
C?
Yep.
There you go. All right, we will post this online.
Yes, we will.
So you can see. But there we go. Live P test. I am negative, even though I've been hanging out with you.
I have no cup to cheers you with for the end of the show.
Cheers.
Ugh.
It smells like urine.
Yeah, that's why there's not much in mine.
All right. Well, let's end it like that. That is absolutely very interesting. We will talk more about that, maybe social media wise. Share your thoughts of whether or not you were
That's
surprised.
good to know, because if I ever need to pass a test, I know where
Right?
to get some urine.
And here's the thing. What it encourages me, because I mentioned a little earlier that this could be a bad sign. Like if I got pulled over, like I have not been consuming, and if it showed
we
that I
really should have
had-
talked about what we were going to talk about when the other person was in the bathroom. I think we talked about the same thing. I just said the exact same thing you said.
Oh, good. Oh,
That would
did
be
we?
funny.
Oh, now
Because we didn't even talk about what we were. Timmy's just like, yeah, I need you to talk about something while we're in the bathroom. Or yeah.
Yeah, and then you just did. So I'm going to find out about that later. All right. So there you go.
Are you going to cheers with that?
Let's wrap up another show. I'm Timmy Boyle,
Mary Jane Baker, stay lifted.
and keep on laughing. Cheers.
Don't drink it.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net. Pace Radio Network, created by patients for patients, and for those who need to know.
What do you find at paceradio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
We must change our minds. Business as usual will lead to exacerbated conflict over resources and turf, and eventually thermonuclear catastrophe. If the evolution of consciousness is not the way to solve the world's problems, then I don't know what it is. Well, The psychedelics were originally described as consciousness-expanding drugs. That was the phenomenological description of what they were. We need to intervene in our own psyches. We cannot afford the luxury of an unconscious mind that can throw up a Hitler or a Khomeini. We cannot afford the unexamined obsessive behavior pattern that leads us into a conditioned response when somebody leans on our territory or insults our racial heritage or something like that. We have to realize that it is going to take creative intellectual engineering to steer us through the narrow valley of being. And it's always been that way. This is what shamanism is using plants to balance and control what is otherwise an extremely violence-prone, neurotic species.
Everybody was drinking bourbon, scotch, beer, and wine. They was feeling just fine. So I go to the bar, to my bartender. I said, look, man, come on down here. You got down there. So what you want? One bourbon, one scotch, one beer. And I ain't seen my baby since I don't know when. Mr. Bartender.
Alan,
Ladies and gentlemen,
you're having a nightmare. What if it's true?
ladies and gentlemen,
Alan, it's a possibility, isn't it?
the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers,
constant, extreme danger,
which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger,
extreme danger,
that an announced need for increased security.
What the hell is going on?
This is Conspiracy Queries with Alan Park.
Will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control.
You're crazy.
And no officious, high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes.
Isn't the Pentagon suspicious that all the buildings blow up?
Or to withhold from the press and the public
I think you're just looking at things for the first time.
the facts they deserve to know.
You've had your whole f***ing life to think things over. What good's a few minutes more gonna do you now?
The facts they deserve to know. They deserve to know. Deserve to know. Deserve to know.
Hey, you're listening to Green Crush Conspiracy Queries, episode 117 and 45. Here we go.
Facts they deserve to know.
Okay, welcome to Green Crush Conspiracy Queries with Alan Park. It's another show, another fine summer day. and we'll get right to it. We have some news, and we have a guest, and that's how we do things here. And then we squeeze a little bit of news on afterwards. My name is Alan Park. I'm a stage 4 cancer kind of guy, supposed to have been killed already by this disease, which they offered no respite from at the hospital system here in a very major city, Toronto. Said you don't have any choices. You're just going to have to take this drug and go away and die somewhere. I had my choice of where, so that's nice. But I didn't feel like taking them up on what they were saying, that there were no options and that I had nothing else I could do. I didn't believe that. Basically, the same bunch of people that would sell us a Camel cigarette and tell us it's the best kind of cigarette. I know that's not really fair to point out where they've lied in the past to make your case for lying in the present. I know it's not fair. That's okay. I don't care what anybody thinks about that. It's still my journey. It's still what happened to me. So anyway, then I came down to this studio and had an interview on Raw Mike Richards, and next thing you know, we're doing this show now. And there we go. There was a buzz there that I don't like, something to do with electricity. How strange. Anyway, Green Crush is, the green is the cannabis, and the crush is what it can do to cancer and other illnesses if used properly, like the tool that it is, instead of run away from, like the tools that tell you it's dangerous. Oh, I just promoted the show and the cause of the show on YouTube, and you're still listening to me? Well, we're getting ready to migrate on over when the hammer comes down. You're not allowed to talk about how healthy it is. You can't be using the truth on some of these channels. No good. So instead, I don't have my facts before me. But if we lose you in the next little week or so, now I noticed the ConQ page didn't get posted last week for some reason. I don't know why that is, but we did post a show, so I guess we'll be posting 2 shows this week. This one and the one we did last week. Anyway, let's get on to the show here. We do have a guest once again. This gentleman hails from, it's hard to say where he hails from, New Jersey, I think, but he's all over the States. He's a mixologist, and you have to be careful how you pronounce that word these days. You don't want to call him something else. That's no good. He's a mixologist and a chef. And he writes. He's got books out. He's also known as the Cocktail Whisperer. His name is Warren Bobrow. He's a freelance mixologist. Isn't that the best kind to be? Specializing in craft spirits. Okay, here we go. He's developed bar programs and implemented their cocktail and ice programs. Warren served as master mixologist for several brands of liquor, including the Busted Barrel rum produced by New Jersey's first licensed distillery since Prohibition. In New Jersey, I guess they mean. He's from New Jersey, Morristown, or Morristown. We'll have to find out if that's a burning question or not. He attended Westmont Montessori School and Gill St. Bernard's School before graduating from Morristown Beard School. I don't know what that means. A beard school? Well, it's the area, right? It must be. I mean, it's not a school where you learn how to become a beard. Then he completed his bachelor's degree in communications and film at Emerson in Boston. 33 years ago, he worked as a dishwasher pot scrubber. So there's something I have in common with him. I've also done that at York Harbor, Maine, and as a television engineer. And then he's now working at he worked for Maine Public Broadcasting in Portland, Maine. Was working at the Portland, Maine PBS station, and he's currently, this is why we have him on, he's currently a cannabis alchemist, presently working on the periphery of known and the unknown universe between craft spirits and the cannabis industry. So this is a guy who is probably 11 times illegal in Canada, the way they have things set up here. He's infusing alcohol with cannabis. We'll find out that he studied at the Johnson & Wales University, taking culinary arts, opened a pasta place in Charleston, South Carolina. They were the first manufacturer of fresh pasta until Hurricane Hugo devastated the place. Returned to school after a 20-year career in private banking. Private banking and washing dishes. Yeah, it's incredible. So I'm just at the one part there. I'm at the I'm at the washing dishes part. I'm not doing the private banking part. Believe me. No such clue. Anyway, Warren is going to be on shortly. He's not new to the trend of cannabis. He says he's been smoking marijuana since he was 13, and he's 57 now, I think, and he's experimented with putting it in food. A banker for 20 years, moved on to becoming a notable person in the cocktail world with 4 books about cocktails. Then in 2012, he read about a cannabis-infused dinner at Roberta's in New York City and noticed that the food had cannabis in it, but no one put anything in the drinks. So that was Warren's mission right there, and he became the Cocktail Whisperer. You can check out cocktailwhisperer.com to find out more about Warren. Let's move on into, there's been some more news coming out lately about how terrible cannabis is for the brain. I noticed that those stories are coming out at around the same time of the same similar stories about the brain, but about how good it is. Specifically, the Alzheimer's protein gets apparently severely damaged to the point of non-existence with THC, a dangerous little thing they like to scare you with. So let's move on. Let's move on to medical marijuana can save lives. Here's the evidence. What? Evidence. Yeah. Now, this was in the New York Times, and I'm rounding this up from Scoop.it, scoop.it. Jeff Sessions, yeah, he's kind of out of touch, that guy. But anyway, Sessions has it that a discussion of the opioid epidemic needs to, it points to going after marijuana. He's got to get rid of the marijuana, you see, to eliminate the opioid epidemic. Sessions suggesting that addictive pain medication wasn't the only problem and that many heroin addicts start out with marijuana and other drugs. There's a relationship between cannabis and opioids, but Sessions has it backward. Marijuana isn't a gateway drug to opioid addiction. It's a safer alternative to pain meds. Sessions vow to crack down on marijuana will only make the opioid epidemic worse. And we've been finding out lately over time how Sessions, there's so much news going on right now in the States, my goodness, under the Trump administration, but trying to keep it as limited to the purview of the show as possible. Okay, so I know there are other things at hand, but this is a cannabis news and rights show, so we're going to talk more about Sessions right now than Trump, I guess, but why are they doing this? We're always told that the promotion of pharmaceutical drugs is far more reasonable and even-handed, and we just don't even take in the statistics of how dangerous they can be and are. We don't look at that. We don't look at the increase in prescription drug prices going up higher than any other category of health spending. We don't look at that. We think it's nuts when people suspect a pharmaceutical company of gaming the system. Why is that? Why do you figure that it's unreasonable to assume that people who have done horrible things to profit in the past wouldn't do the same thing now? Why is that so odd? And, this is where you fall into the conspiracy category. I mean, you're saying, wait a minute, what you're saying, hang on. What you're saying is this easy to grow, healthful plant can remedy so many of these terrible physical, painful problems that we have for hardly anything, and people can grow that in their own homes? Well, we're going to have to say no to that and throw down a bunch of laws and tell people that it's bad for their brains. Meanwhile, the evidence is now coming in, has been coming in, that THC, the dreaded demon molecule, oh my God, can actually kill the proteins that cause Alzheimer's. Yeah, I've already said that on the show, but where are you hearing it elsewhere? Nowhere. They only talk about the things they want to talk about. Listen to this story from FiercePharma.com this January. Alex Azar's job hop from drug maker Eli Lilly to the Trump administration reflects ever-deepening ties between the pharmaceutical industry and the federal government. We already know this. We saw this with Obama. We've seen it with every president. A Kaiser Health News analysis shows that hundreds of people have glided through the revolving door that connects the drug industry to Capitol Hill and to the Department of Health and Human Services. So what they do is they go in there and they learn everything about government that could possibly get in the way, whether it's health-related, regulatory, any kind of amounts, any kind of tests. And they work to bury those negative results with money. And they call these folks lobbyists. And then the lobbyists come in and tell these clowns, of which there are up to 4 or 5 lobbyists per elected member of Congress. So what's that, like 1,600 people almost? With big wallets telling people, here's how it's going to go from now on. And you don't think people of that mindset can be questioned when they trot out another flu vaccine? Seriously, you're clinging to that position. Oh, yeah, well, they wouldn't, everything else is screwed up, but they wouldn't do this to us. These people would pump their garbage bilge into the rivers and the streams. And they would get away from it, with it, constantly. Whereas if you were caught throwing one bag of garbage in there, there'd be a ticket in your hands at the very least before you left the dock area. But these folks, they get set up in government. They understand how it works. They change laws that'll make it more favorable for corporations. Then they go back to the corporation and work there again and profit from the laws that they changed. And if you're good at it, you can do it more than 2, 3, 4 times back and forth. Former congressional staffers who now work for drug companies returned to the Hill to lobby former co-workers or employees. The deep ties raise concerns that there should be a fucking investigation, a full-on, 100% dive-down investigation into all of these structural systems that we enslave ourselves underneath of, okay? So we have the drug industry needs an audit, telling us opioids are going to be fine and dandy in 2000 and none of the addiction problems that we now have. If that were cannabis back then and they said that and anybody was near the numbers these people would be in jail right now. But the money's flying around. So that's what they do. They wield undue influence over drug-related legislation and or government policy from one side and then the other, and then back to one and then back to the other. Pharma Guy says, I'd like to say one or two words about what I call the pharma government complex, which is the collusion between the pharmaceutical industry, lawmakers, and government agencies. Now, they're looking for collusion between Russia and electing the Trump government. There may be some there. Some people are running around as though they haven't found anything of that nature. And the people that say they've found it don't seem to have much to wave around. But it could be there. But there's definitely collusion between the pharmaceutical industry and the lawmakers who have profited from financial contributions from the industry. It goes on here, as well as help from the industry hired guns, the lobbyists, to craft laws benefiting the drug industry. Obviously, my efforts and the efforts of many others to shine a light on this has achieved nothing. See, they have the collusion. They've got evidence of it. Your child already may be a result of it. So might your diminished income. And yet, nothing happens. And meanwhile, they're chasing collusion and trying to find evidence of collusion for something else. What's going to happen when they get that? Nothing. More means of control. So those hired guns craft laws benefiting the drug industry. And his efforts and the efforts of many others to shine a light on that has achieved nothing. The amount spent on lobbying during the first 9 months of Trump's presidency, reports the Center for Responsive Politics, was higher than in any corresponding period since 2012. The article there was, the DC pharma lobbying swamp is bigger and more slimy than ever. So between that and between the opioids being dangerous to the point of people dying, and even more dangerous to the point of people denying that cannabis can end that situation, they choose to kvetch and moan about, what about the children? And the children are not even using the smoking as much as they used to. Young people choosing marijuana over an alcohol and cigarettes, but they're less interested in smoking it, taking it in different ways, vaping it, eating it, infusing it. And yet these folks come up with these studies. Here's one from June 4th. New research investigating the effects of heavy cannabis use on cognitive functioning in adolescents and young adults has found little to no long-term harm. Yet we tolerate and accept without question the notion that cannabis should not be consumed by anybody under 25, absent any questioning why we feel it's okay to send military-trained 18-year-olds off to face mayhem and death. Or that teenage brains are the most malleable and regenerative. But by all means, make up your crazy laws. Medical pot legalization results in an average of a 10% reduction in traffic fatalities. Wow. This was published in the Journal of Law and Economics in 2013. To date, 16 states at that point had passed medical marijuana laws, yet very little is known about their effects, so they say. Using state-level data, we examine the relationship between medical marijuana laws and a variety of outcomes. Legalization of medical marijuana is associated with increased use of marijuana among adults, but not among minors. In addition, legalization is associated with a nearly 9% decrease in traffic fatalities, most likely due to its impact on alcohol consumption. Our estimates provide strong evidence that marijuana and alcohol are substitutes. Amazing. This from December 20th, 2016. States with marijuana laws have fewer traffic fatalities. You'd think it would be higher. But researchers at Columbia University's Mailman School of Public Health found an 11% reduction in traffic fatalities on average when examining places that have enacted medical marijuana laws. The presence of medical marijuana dispensaries also correlated with fewer traffic fatalities. And what do we got here? Cops going to try to arrest you for it. Meanwhile, how about this just before we get to our illustrious guest? This is in nationalinstituteofhealth.gov. Assessment of cannabinoids, agonist and antagonist in invasion potential of K562 cancer cells. It's a kind of cancer. The prominent hallmark, this is the background of malignancies. This is the I should be able to say this pretty well. Metastatic spread of cancer cells. Recent studies have reported the nature of invasive cells could be changed after this phenomenon, causing chemotherapy resistance. It's been demonstrated that the upregulated expression of matrix metalloproteinase as a metastasis biomarker can fortify the metastatic potential of leukemia. I'll get to the conclusion in a second here. Furthermore, investigations have confirmed the inhibitory effect of cannabinoid and endocannabinoid on the proliferation of cancer cells, in vivo and in vitro. Conclusion. Our findings clarifies that CB1 receptors, also known as cannabinoid receptors in the body, system number 1, in your body that you already got when you were born, which already makes small amounts of DMT. This body, it's responsible for the anti-invasive effects in the K562 cell lines. So there's another piece of science there telling you that cancer and cannabis are not very good friends. So let's do to one killing the other. All right, so let me get our guest on the phone. Here's Warren. Let me give him a call here. And we will get Warren on the phone.
Hello.
Warren Bobrow, how are you today?
I am fantastic.
Fantastic.
I just muted my computer, so there won't be any echo.
Okay. Thank you for doing that. How are you today? Where are you today? Are you you were bobbing around all over the place.
Well, that's what I like to be doing. I'm sitting at my desk.
Okay. Well, it seems like you got a handle on that.
Morristown, New Jersey.
Okay. Morristown. That's where you were born. You're a hometown boy, are you?
I'm a hometown boy, and no one knows me here. It's remarkable.
That's good. Okay, well, let's find out why no one knows you there. It's a good place to kind of hide out, I guess, right?
Yeah, because they know me every place else.
You leave your leave your celebrity behind for a little bit. So Warren, when we spoke on the phone the other day, you said something rather interesting to me, and we'll tell the folks who you are. I've already announced you as the Cocktail Whisperer, author of many books, and mixologist, which I was very careful to pronounce correctly.
You did okay.
You need to do mixologist. You are a mixologist, and nothing else that starts with an M and ends with an ist. So you were a drinker, so to speak. Now you and I, this is interesting here because you and I come at this from a different angle because I don't all that often participate in for cancer related reasons. I stopped what I would call my usual intake of alcohol some time ago, but I'm very fascinated in what you're getting to. But before we get into some of the cool questions, like I really am interested in, there's a lot of, people that have a problem mixing the two elements, etc., particularly when you're driving. Of course, that's the case. But since you're an expert, let's hear all about it. But I blame all this on Montessori. I blame it all on Montessori.
Oh, it was the open classroom. I know, and they maybe if I had a little more direction in my life from an early age. I grew up on a farm, and I was very sheltered, and things probably could have been a lot harder on me. But it was an upbringing like no one else's that I've ever come across. And my dad was an international tax lawyer, and my mom took care of her horses, and and I took care of scooping the stuff that horses make.
Oh.
Lots of that. So we traveled extensively growing up, and I guess the first time I really was introduced to cannabis was probably from my uncle, who was a hippie. You know,
He was a what, sorry?
He graduated from. He was a hippie. He graduated from college in 1969, so that put him right in there with all those darn hippies.
Right.
So you know, that's where I smoked weed for the first time.
With your grandfather?
No, not my uncle. My
your
uncle,
your
not
uncle.
my grandfather.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, my uncle. My
Your
grandfather was very very conservative. He wouldn't have had that conversation.
Fair enough. So you didn't do this with your dad though? Was it your dad's brother or your mom's?
My mom's brother. My father never had a brother. He only had a sister, and he was very difficult. My father was very difficult.
Oh, okay.
He did not approve of me using cannabis, and he disowned me for it.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh gee
Yep.
whiz. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so I'm actually, that's part of the magic of being an author is no matter what someone does to you, you can make them live in infamy by dedicating books to them. And so I dedicated Cannabis Cocktails to him. I said to my father, Robert Barbaro, who taught me to stand on my own 2 feet and succeed at what made me happy.
Oh, right.
So, you know, that's how you take a bad situation and you turn it into something that you take the power away from a dead person.
Right.
And, you know, so I've done that, and I've been able to look back at that and say I made the right decision by dedicating the book to him, because he was unable to see that I really had healing in mind. I wasn't looking for a recreational book, and I certainly wasn't looking for a get high quick book. So I think that's really important to make that differentiation.
And he never got the chance to see your book, I guess?
No. The last 2 or 3 months of his life were in the complete knowledge that I would never talk to him again.
Yeah, well, that's unfortunate. But anyway, so we all, that's a great example. I've heard this before that, you know, every person in that category is someone you look up to or supposed to look up to will teach you by example somehow or other. And it's not always
and it's not always the lesson that you want to learn.
Right.
You know, it's a lesson that it's more difficult. And I you know, he knew who I was from an early age, and he certainly knew that I smoked marijuana and, you know, or cannabis or whatever you want to call it. You know, and that wasn't going to change. You know, that certainly wasn't going to change, and it was something that I've done for so long that. And probably my stability in life, I believe, is because I use cannabis products, and it's made me a calmer, more peaceful person. And that's just who I am as a man. And, you know, you get to be a certain age and you say, yeah, I know I look 41, but I'm really 57 years old and I've had a lot of experiences, not all of them good. And, but they brought me here. And hopefully, you know, the book Cannabis Cocktails was meant as a method of healing. And my methods really are not so new. They really go back to the mid 1800s when, you know, there wasn't great refrigeration and certainly there wasn't electricity to keep things cool. So alcohol and cannabis certainly were used as a tincture. And, you know, who knows what your apothecarian was doing with it. But I think he was probably making very basic cocktails and using cannabis. And we know this is true because I visited the Apothecary Museum down in New Orleans when they were doing a presentation on cannabis in the early apothecary, and they had done all the research. So my job was easy. I knew that they were infusing THC and not hemp, but THC into craft spirits. I took it to the next step and wrote a book about it.
And when was that you discovered this?
I'd say it was about 2015. They did a presentation at the you know, apothecary at the old pharmacy museum in New Orleans.
Okay. All right. Now, let me ask you a couple of questions because I'm coming at it from a person that I don't really know much about alcohol. So any question I have will be genuine curiosity and or ignorance as opposed to trying to trip you up. Alcohol, as I've known it, is technically speaking, it's a depressant. No?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
So that doesn't mean that you're going to be all bummed out or whatever if you use it properly, right?
No,
Once again, it's a tool.
It's just It's, you know, I always say everything in moderation, and I know, you know, originally when I wrote the book, we kind of went hog wild on some of the potencies of the craft cocktails, and I must admit they were. I really had very little idea how strong the drinks were, and they were extraordinarily strong. But we've really ratcheted back the amount of cannabis that's in the drinks, and it's more of a microdose now instead of an overdose.
Oh,
so
what was the overdose?
I just, you know,
what was the overdose that was too high?
The overdose was from the cannabis. It certainly wasn't from the alcohol,
Sure.
because I wasn't putting very much alcohol in. But it was this crossfade that not everyone is accustomed to, and it can be an overwhelming experience. But in that case, we recommend lemon juice and peppercorns together. The terpenes in the lemon juice and the peppercorns counteract those terpenes in the cannabis, and it's just almost instantaneous. You come off of the stuff, and no more pesky hospital trips or throwing up in front of friends and family. You know, that should never happen.
So what kind of dosages were we getting that kind of reaction from?
Well, since I tested all the recipes on myself, I was doing like 150 milligram cocktails, and those are just way out of line.
Yeah.
And you know, I have an incredibly high tolerance, but I still feel that if someone was doing, looking at the book recreationally, they could be in trouble. From a medicinal standpoint, probably not. You know, I have glaucoma, and I'm looking to reduce the intraocular pressure behind my eyes. And I don't want to take eye drops, and I want to just, sometimes I want to mix, infuse THC into mezcal and make something, with Pickett's ginger beer, or, something really exciting in that realm. And I live in a part of New Jersey that's incredibly conservative, and the smell of cannabis in the air is guaranteed to get you arrested, even if you have a cannabis card like I do. I mean, it's at least going to get the attention of the local police. I don't want that. I was in LA over the weekend. I flew out to look at Bloom, which is they make beautiful, just, world-class cannabis oil in 510 cartridges and all sorts of things. And, when you walk around the streets in LA smoking a joint, no one pays any attention. I mean, they're looking for real crime. They're not looking for someone smoking weed in the street. So around here in New Jersey, it's just the opposite. And if a policeman was to walk past you or drive past you and they smelled it, you're looking for some serious trouble, and certainly you'll be entered into the system. And I don't need that. So that's why when I think about being the person that I am and who I've become, certainly in the legal or illegal standpoint, I want to just put it right out there. I don't want anyone really to know my business. So that's why I wrote the book. And the other reason why I wrote the book was during Giuliani's administration, I was picked up for smoking a joint in New York City, and I never want to go through that again.
Oh,
and that was that should have never happened to anyone. And they took me out of commission for 48 hours without charges, without a phone call, without anything.
Wow.
And they held me in Rikers.
Because you were literally,
and that was no fair.
You were
no fair. Literally smoking. I was smoking. I had just been up in Vancouver, and I brought some BC Bud back with me. I mean, everyone slipped a joint into their jacket, and I did too. And I lit it up in the street, and they said they smelled it 2 blocks away. That it had that green crack smell.
Right.
Really, really, really intense. And so it seemed like 20 policemen came down on me, and I had probably as much weed is what would fit on my fingernail, and I have tiny hands. So,
wow.
It was really, really, really bad. And, I mean, what was I going to do? Say, please don't arrest me, officer. But what are they going to do? They had to do it. So they did it. Wow. And that's why I wrote the book. I mean, I wrote the book because I want people to be able to take their medicine, not have anyone know what they're doing.
Oh, that's amazing. That's fantastic. What a great way to get going. So, but first of all, you became, I lost the plot here. You were dishwashing and then you were a banker?
Yeah, I was dishwashing. No, I was dishwashing. Then I became a chef. Then I went to culinary school. Then I did the ACF apprenticeship. Then I opened a fresh pasta company. I cooked around the United States. I lost my business. I cooked around the United States. it was not sustainable. I mean, physically not sustainable. It was a tough time. You know, it was like the early 1990s, and food had not exploded yet like it had today.
Right.
So I was working in a business, not being able to afford to live in New York City. Certainly, I was working in a restaurant in New York City, and it was just not sustainable at all. So I was helping my dad out in his law office, which was doomed. I wasn't going to become a lawyer, and he suggested, since I owed him $75,000 for losing it in my pasta company, he suggested me getting a real job. And for 20 years, I paid it. You know, it took me 20 years to pay it off. And the day that I was able to pay it off, I was the last day I worked in the corporate world.
Wow, amazing. So it's not.
I started at the bottom and I worked my way up. You know,
Yeah.
That's what I did. That's what I've always done.
And then when you were learning about, okay, put it this way. When I was saying to you that I don't know much about alcohol, so there are a lot of different drinks. There's your Rusty Nails and your tequilas. Sure. There's your various lineups of shots, sex on the beach, all that kind of thing.
I'm not. No. I don't do drinks like that. Mine are unique. I am a mixologist. I create my own craft cocktails using craft spirits. You're never going to see. I mean, very, very rarely do I have anything that's even moderately sweet. My drinks are savories. They're definitely complex, but they're not complicated. And I think it's really, really important to differentiate between those, B-52s that we used to do shooters of, or Long Island iced teas. No, I don't do things like that. Mine are incredibly sophisticated.
But that's what I mean,
the
though.
Finest spirits that money can buy. I mean, but really, I mean, at the end of the day, what you were discussing was the kind of the seedy underbelly of the mixology business, but I'm really at the top of the house. And not just me saying this. I would never have 6 books in print if it wasn't for the fact that my stuff is really unique,
Right. Well, the reason I'm asking isn't that I was inferring that you were doing that. I was just saying that is generally the scope of those kinds of drinks that we all get into. We do those shooters at the bars. We chase down with tequilas.
Maybe, but no. I want to say, I'm involved with another whole group, and that high volume, bad ingredients. Yeah, I know that goes on, but I've never worked in that. I've only worked in the white tablecloth, handcrafted, and the book doesn't have anything, any like big names in it. It's all small producer, craft spirits. And I find it very important, if you're going to use any sort of heating techniques, you're not going to want to have anything that's caramel colored or added sugar or glycerin added, because it's really going to change the chemical makeup of the alcohol, and someone could get sick, and I don't want that. Yeah. So I use craft spirits that haven't been manipulated, and that's so important, that they're not attacked by methods that are unclean. And I'm never going to have this as something legal, because I am changing the recipes of the spirits, and of course the organization that monitors that in the United States, called the TTB, I'm sure they frown upon that. But I'm not doing it in bars, and I do it for private events occasionally. You might read about it afterwards, certainly never before. We try to vet our guest list thoroughly. I don't want any trouble. This is not something that we take lightly. I feel very honored to be in the place of healing. It kind of goes back to things that I knew from my own family. They were in the quote unquote snake oil business. So I want to be very careful and very cognizant of not doing that, not having that stigma.
So, but
because I really believe the cannabis heals. I mean, I truly believe the cannabis heals, and that's where I'm at.
So when you have a certain kind of drink, I mean, what I mean is you turn the whole thing on its ear. You came across all those sweeter drinks and those kind of ritualized
of course
drinks, and you went, no, hang on.
But I was never working with them, and my first 3 cocktail books, apothecary cocktails, whiskey cocktails, and bitters and shrub syrup cocktails, those were not sweet cocktail books, and I'd be very hard pressed to find anything in there that was sweet. The only time I did anything that was remotely sweet was in cannabis cocktails, but I love working with chocolate, so I was able to do bittersweet chocolate as opposed to sugary sweet chocolate. I think there's one drink, about, let's see if I can find the book. I don't have it here. Where's my book? It's someplace around my office. Oh, there it is. But there's some drinks in it that could be perceived as sweet, but I really don't believe that they are. Here, No One Can Talk to a Horse, of course. It has chocolate syrup, cannabis-infused whiskey, chocolate liqueur, whipped cream, and bittersweet chocolate shavings and ice.
Oh,
so it really is it's a bourbon chocolate. It's bittersweet chocolate. It has fresh whipped cream, really good quality chocolate syrup, only 2 ounces of it. So it's not an awful vodka-based concoction. It's a bourbon dream. It's really sophisticated.
Wow, that sounds amazing.
So.
That sounds really good. So
Yeah,
you get to play, right? You get to play with different combos.
Yeah, absolutely. But of course. I mean, the one that you were saying you don't drink, I would recommend the cannabis-infused condensed milk with Vietnamese iced coffee. We all love Vietnamese iced coffee. It's so slippery, and the chicory is kind of bitter, and the coffee is very, very strong espresso, and then you cut it with this unctuous, sweet, but not too sweet, condensed milk that's been simmered with decarbed cannabis. And I've been decarbing my cannabis in a device called the Ardent Lift. And what that does is it brings the cannabis to 100% bioavailability. So it makes me look like a star every single time, because I'm not burning up my batches in the toaster oven anymore like everyone used to do all the time. Or if you're using a rice cooker, sometimes they get off temperature, and then the thing is boiling and all your THC is evaporated.
Wow, nice.
There's a lot of little techniques that we do, and in the book, of course, I teach you how to do it the old-fashioned slow way, using an oven and a closed container. But when I'm out in the field and doing events, I want to make sure that it works perfectly every time. So I use the Ardent Lift and I use the Magical Butter Machine. Just 2 pieces of machinery that make me look like a pro every single time. And of course, when someone's paying you, a pretty penny to do an event, you want to make sure that everyone gets stoned. So there's just no messing around,
Wow, that's great. I'm just looking at that now. The Ardent Herbal Lift.
Yes, the Ardent Lift. Yes,
Yeah.
I love that thing. And I spoke about them at South by Southwest this year. Disruptive technology in your home cannabis kitchen.
That just makes it great for everyone, I mean, I used to decarb,
Yeah,
and it was difficult, I mean, you had to make sure that
Yeah,
you
of
didn't go
course
too hot for too
You're burning
long.
up batches.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're burning up batches, and then some. If you're looking to get more CBD or CBGD or whatever they are, I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but I will say that some of them are revealed at higher temperatures. Some of the feelings are revealed at lower temperatures. And then, of course, there's all those important terpenes.
Right.
The Bloom product that I visited this weekend, they preserve these incredible terpenes. It's like thrusting your face into a bowl of fruit. It's just incredible. I mean, I'd never smelled anything like it. I thought that they did something artificial, and then I learned it was all natural, and it was like, wow.
Even better.
So, yeah. Even better. And I'm the lucky guy. I truly am the lucky guy, because I must say, I was a banker. I hated my life. Every day was a drag. I didn't know what I was going to be when I grew up. I was only trying to please my father and grandfather, who hated me anyway, and they put their money where their mouth was and cut me off forever. So I had to become something that was good and follow my dreams and be something that was different. And that's what I think I've achieved. And no one said I was going to be rich and famous. I'd be happy with just famous. Rich, money comes and goes, but just being recognized for my craft and being the person that wrote the first book about mixing cannabis and cocktails, that's all I ever wanted. I don't want anything else.
Yeah, we were thinking of you a while ago. We knew you were coming on the show, and an article came out in the Canadian publications saying that some Canadian company is going to infuse an alcoholic beverage with cannabis.
Yeah, Constellation.
Won't this be exciting as the first time it's ever happened? I mean, that's what was in the article.
Yeah, it's not the first time it's ever happened.
Sure,
I contacted them and I said, I really am the first person to do it on a commercial scale. I know bartenders have been playing around with it, and I'm happy that they have. but I've been able to standardize the recipe, and actually I've taken it even further than the standard recipe. I mean, the book was great, and I'm happy that I wrote it, but I'm doing stuff that is just so far beyond what was in the book. With nitrous oxide now, people are using CO2 in the marketplace, and I'm saying, no, all you need is this ISI, which is the thing that makes whipped cream. And once you take your decarbed cannabis and you put it in the ISI with whatever craft spirit you have, hit it with 2 jolts of nitrous oxide, and then I activate the THC with just, in the magical butter machine, 160 degrees for about 2 hours. And you have the finest craft spirits that money can buy, completely packed full of THC, and it's everyone's going to get off.
Wow.
So all I can say is maybe I didn't invent the science, but I've made the science better.
Yeah, it's well suited to your skill set.
Well, yeah, and my skill set is as a mixologist, and I have to be straight out about that. And I'm not a big drinker anymore. And a lot of it has to do with health. I mean, really, there's all sorts of, it's not a safe and sane material for me to be working with. So I decided to follow my dreams, do what I love, listen to my heart, and go forward. And that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. Hey, so this is a bit of a drag to bring up, but we just lost Anthony Bourdain. You did an interview with him regarding Scotch. 4 questions about Scotch on wildriverreview.com. Tell us about what it was like talking with him. I mean, he's a very, very interesting guy, and I felt that he was, well, let's see how I can put this in a way that seems reasonable. I felt that he was uncomfortable in his suit. That's what I felt he was. And when I put my arm around him for the photograph that I had with him, I felt that he wasn't having a good day. That's what it felt like. His energy was, get me the hell out of here. I don't want to be here. It was a luncheon for the American Crafts Council at Bernardine in New York City. And I was given the opportunity of asking him. I really wanted to ask him 5 questions, and it worked out to be 4 questions. Then the PR came down on me, and they said, no, it has to be 3. And I said, no, let's have 4. But anyway, he was not comfortable having any conversation other than Balvenie, which was sponsoring him. Right.
So I really couldn't get to who he was. But for a split second, he fell in love with my gnome, and I don't know, how to explain that. I carry a 1860s German drinking gnome, and I was holding him the gnome in my hands, and he looked over at Klaus, that's the name of my gnome, and he smiled, and it was almost like quizzical. He was interested in knowing why I was carrying a gnome, but there wasn't enough time for him to ask that question, and I had to kind of extract the information from him very quickly, and be crisp, and then let him go on to the next person. But for a split second, and I have the picture on, in the piece, it shows him and myself, and he looks kind of sheepish in the picture.
Yeah.
And my gnome, and it was sad, and it's a tough business, and there's a lot of mental issues in the business. And when I started as a dishwasher working, I worked with a lot of people who were like PhDs and, people who were like professors in school, and they just couldn't handle it. And they dropped out of society, and they became cooks, or they became dishwashers, or they became, like I did, a pot scrubber. And it's tough, things are not always what they seem. And I always found, for me, it was, I had a tough time of it. I may have grown up in a very privileged way, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I have that now. And I work very hard for what I have, and I'm completely self-made. And it's really it's an honor to say that, but it's also damn frightening.
Yeah.
So, it really is, because I have no one to fall back on but myself. And it's not always easy to be myself, especially working in an industry such as cannabis, which has such a stigma, especially on the East Coast of the United States. The West Coast, I think they've solved that stigma a long time ago, and certainly Canada, where you're in Canada, right?
Yeah. What about up and down the
okay,
middle?
So Canada,
How's
Canada,
it?
in the middle, it's a good way of getting arrested. I'm just serious. It's I travel all over, and I don't want to tell you how I get things. I've never have any trouble finding anything. That's probably my benefit of who I am. But I will say at the end of the day that there are places that I can go and places that I can't go, and I have to be careful. And when I first started going down to New Orleans, it was still illegal. Now it's legal down there. New York City, of course, I have that problem with New York City, so I'm happy that they're not arresting people for pot in New York City anymore.
Yeah.
New Jersey, they still are arresting people in New Jersey, so whatever that means, it just means. And I just go forward, and hopefully that I can be the person in life that I want to be, and I'm able to be successul at it. And if not, I've got to figure out what to do because I'm not a youngster anymore.
Right. Well, you're.
But I think this is a good path. I really think this is a good path.
Yeah,
I'm confident it is. I'm really, really confident in myself.
So these books that you've written that are cookbooks now, or not cookbooks, but
they're
recipe
they're
books, right?
Cocktail cookbooks, yeah.
Yeah.
Recipe books, certainly, and there's stories and conversations, and it's just a really interesting way of looking at cocktail mixology.
So we're gonna need a magical butter.
I'm pretty talented,
Well, of course you are. Of course you are. And what's amazing is there's not 100,000 guys like you. There's a very few people.
No one would put up with the kind of BS that I put up with for so many years. So they would say, "Get me the hell out of here."
Yeah. So I mean, it
but
goes.
I really had no other choice. What can I do?
The reviews on some of your books on Amazon are great. It said, "Got it from my sister that's a bartender. She loves it and makes me some good damn drinks out of it."
Yep.
What an awesome book filled with great ideas, methods, and insight. I've made a few of these recipes, and they're easy to follow and quite effective. Great recipes in a fun format. Enjoyed the book very much and recommend it to home bartenders looking to expand their repertoire. All kinds of great, very easy to understand. Here's what I hate about cookbooks. So I've got to see one of yours, got to get one. Here's what I don't like about it. There'll be, like in a food cookbook, it'll be like, the delicious stew sauce or whatever. So you go, okay, the delicious stew. So you start reading through, and it says you need a pound of meat and an onion and this and that and the other. And then it'll say, then you need some fantastic super sauce. For fantastic super sauce recipe, turn to page 41. Oh, okay. So
it's not there.
Then you got to turn page 41. There's all the sauce, and you have another series of things that you have to get through, and it says, "Oh, for this involves the infused coconut meat. So for that, turn to page 83." And you can never get done.
Yeah,
you can never get done. You can't have all the staples.
My drinks are pretty easy. I mean, the first couple books were a little more difficult, but I will honestly say that I learned my lesson. So I wanted to just be really clear in the sense that I wanted it to be approachable. I wanted it to be things that people could do, and really, at the end of the day, make it something that's fun and make it something that's healing. That's so important. And really, there's the other part of it is that you can really, really, really get stoned on it. I have to say, it really is a wonderful feeling, and I don't mean to say this in an irresponsible manner.
No,
but there are
not.
great feelings. There are great feelings in life, and this is one of them. And I really, really am confident that that in the right dose, there's nothing that feels better. There is nothing that I have found that feels better, and that's just more approachable and just friendly.
So what's one of your favorite drinks then? What say if I like the gin and tonic? What would you recommend?
If you like a gin and tonic, well, it's kind of difficult for me to cut it down that simply. I have one drink in there that it's a drink with rum agricole, a little bit of lime juice. I'm putting on my Bluetooth now. It's lime juice, rum agricole, and a touch of simple syrup. And it's just delicious.
Okay. Wow. That sounds good.
It's absolutely delicious. It's so simple. It's a drink that's from the island of Martinique, and it's called a tea punch, or a T-I-P-U-N-C-H, or tea punch. And it's just so refreshing, and you can drink it with ice or without ice, and it's a fun drink to drink. And 2 ingredients, really 3 in a pinch, and anyone can do it.
What's that
and
simple
really
sauce
the only
again?
thing that the simple syrup is the part the simple syrup is the part that's infused with the THC.
Oh, okay. I see. Oh, that's
so it's very, very easy to produce, and you would take the cannabis that's been decarbed, and you add it to your simple syrup, which is 1 cup of sugar to 1 cup of water, and then you let it simmer until it gets just down to you let it simmer so it gets nice and thick, and then it goes from there.
Wow.
And it's easy to use in your craft cocktails, and you can use it in all sorts of things. You can use it in a Manhattan. You can use it in a Rob Roy. You can infuse just about anything you want.
Okay, so what?
It's very, very easy, and
Give us a rundown then on some of the things we'll need. You said you had a magical butter machine. You've got this decarboxylate unit that's quite amazing, right?
Hope I didn't lose you.
No, I'm still here. Sounds like you think you lost me, but maybe... no, I can hear you. I can still hear you.
Hello?
I can still hear you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I hit a dead spot.
That's okay. No, I'm just asking. Yeah, what do you need in the way of having a bag of tricks? Like, you've got a magical butter machine, right? That's a particular unit that makes butter, and you also need this decarboxylating unit.
Yes, you have to decarb first. That's so important. That's essential. I can't imagine doing my process without decarbing, because you're not going to get the full potential of your cannabis.
Right. So
It's
you
so
need that.
important.
So you need to get that thing set up. You
Yeah.
need to get one of those.
Yeah, but not that you don't necessarily have to buy this nearly $250 item. You can do it in the oven as long as you have a commercial, what should we call it, thermometer, so you know that you have a nice even temperature.
Right.
You don't want to open up the oven while it's decarbing to check the temperature. You can look through the glass to see it.
Okay.
Because when you open up the toaster oven, it's going to drop, or the regular oven, it's going to drop, 30 degrees, and that'll ruin your batch. So you just to be cognizant, you're not going to go out for a pizza while you're decarbing and say, "Oh, I forgot the weed."
Right.
That's really important. I don't know where you are if it's expensive. Down here in the medical system, you can't afford to make mistakes.
No, you don't want to make mistakes.
I have to have science. Yeah, I have to have science that works every single time.
Right.
And that's my pleasure to do that. And I want to make it easy, and I want to make it approachable, and I want to make it delicious.
Right. That's the selling point, right? I mean, you're talking to people. How do you actually get going? Like, what's an event for you? How does Warren spend the night being a mixologist somewhere? What's involved with that?
Oh my gosh! Well, I create a cocktail menu, of course, and I usually like pairing cocktails to different courses of food, in the meal. Sometimes we'll have like a welcome punch, and the welcome punch will have some cannabis in it. Then we would go into maybe a whiskey or a mezcal drink to go with an appetizer.
Right.
A little more assertive. Maybe for an entree, we could do it in like an infused milk punch. It would go really nicely. And of course the milk is infused with THC. Dessert would be maybe an Amaro, which is an Italian digestif, and then we could have infused that as well, and then maybe finish it off with a Turkish coffee with a dollop of cannabis butter on top. Like a bulletproof coffee.
Wow, nice. Wow. Have you done that? Have you mixed the
Oh
meat?
yeah. All those things. I've done all these things. I just did one very recently, and it had I did a honey. It was a gin from Vermont called Bar Hill, and it's defined by the reason that it's made with raw honey and grain. And I found when you add THC to it, you can make things like bee's knees, which is the honey and lemon and THC, and it's just a beautiful little cocktail. You know,
Wow.
simple, simple, simple.
Nice to keep it simple, right? What's the most
So I want to make it
ridiculous?
so it's. Well, the most ridiculous thing is probably like the mango lassies, because they're just a little more difficult to make. You know, they've got a little bit of Greek yogurt in them, and they have a mango, you know, whatchamacallit, puree, and then you have to infuse the Greek yogurt or rum or whatever with THC, and then, you know, there are different steps for making a mango latte.
Right.
But they are so delicious because they're so refreshing. You know, it's like today, right now it's 90 degrees outside, and I wish I had one in my hand because it would be stoning and relaxing and fun and just all the things that we want to have in a craft cocktail that just happens to be packed with enough THC to drop an entire family of elephants.
And tell us also, you're also well aware that when you mix cannabis and mangoes, right, you get an extra.
Right, it enhances the effect.
Yeah.
It makes the effect more intense. And that's probably, and I also do a rose and cardamom loss, but it doesn't have the mango loss intensity. No.
So mango's the only kind of fruit or substance that we know that can do this outside of the cannabis realm. That will actually...
I think rhubarb. I think rhubarb does it too, but it has a different effect.
Rhubarb.
Rhubarb works for certain deficiencies in the male toolbox.
Right. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I understand. I had a lovely rhubarb patch, and you're making me wistful for rhubarb right now, and a whole series of thought patterns that are coming out of it. So, hey, listen. Before we get too far into this, I mean, we're gonna start to wrap it up soon. But I want to make sure you get out your particulars. Tell us some of the names of your books and where can people find you. Do you tweet? You have a Twitter handle?
Sure. They can get me on Twitter at my name, Warren Bobrow, with a number 1 because someone stole my name, so I had to put a 1 in front of it.
Oh.
Long story. I'm on LinkedIn under my own name. I think Facebook is Bobrow. Instagram, of course, just my name, how it should be, Warren Bobrow. I have 5 or 6 books. Let's see. I have Apothecary Cocktails that came out 2013. Whiskey cocktails, bitters and shrub syrup cocktails, cannabis cocktails. My 5th book came out May of 2017, the Craft Cocktail Compendium, and I have a 6th cookbook in France, Apothecary Cocktails translated into French. And I believe there's another one that Barnes & Noble requisitioned. It's a remake of Whiskey Cocktails.
Oh yeah.
And it's just for Barnes & Noble.
Okay, that's in reprint. Yeah, that's neat. So that's amazing. You've
That's
got
in
all these books.
reprint.
This is so you're basically writing a book a year at this point.
Yeah, and one of them two books in the first year. I did Whiskey Cocktails and Bitters and Shrub in 1 year. I'll never do that again. That was absolutely crazy. Those books are 160,000 words apiece, and I wrote them in 1 month. I was only given a month.
Wow.
So that's something you should know. You know, publishing is not a glamorous art. No one gets rich in publishing. I wish that my publisher had told me more clearly. Maybe she did, maybe she didn't. But the fact is, no one gets rich in being being an author. What it leads to are great things, and I certainly had the personality for it to become something that was more than just writing books.
Yeah.
You know, it took me to the next step in my life. And the Cannabis Cocktails book has made me a star. I mean, I never saw it coming. I'm famous in certainly in craft cocktails, but I never thought I'd be famous in cannabis. And I'm just thrilled to be famous in cannabis because it helps me be the more authentic Warren. You know, in liquor, I was always stumbling with it because I don't like getting drunk. But in weed, you know, I can smoke just about anyone under the table without much trouble.
Right.
And it's fun for me. So,
Sounds like fun.
It's not stressful, and there are no hangovers, and there's none of the downtime that I had with liquor, and I go down to events like Tales of the Cocktail in New Orleans, and my wife would be pained to hear this, but it's always true. You 1 drink or 5 drinks, all it takes is one to go over the edge, and that means 1 or 2 days sitting in bed throwing up in New Orleans because it's so humid.
Sure.
It's so hot and humid. You don't want to have any alcohol in you. It's bad. So I'm really careful about it now, and I don't want those experiences. They take away too much time that I don't have.
So you don't drink any alcohol now at all? Or
hardly. I mean, I love wine. I still write about wine, and I love wine. I very rarely write about beer, but I absolutely adore beer, but I don't drink as much of it as I would like to because, of course, it's liquid bread, and it all goes to my belly.
Right.
I very rarely drink hard spirits. I can tell you how many drinks I've had since last year's Tales of the Cocktail on both hands, maybe 8 in the last year.
Okay.
That's it. I just don't have a palate for it anymore. I do tasting notes for barrel whiskey, and that I'm able to do, but I don't necessarily find myself going out to a bar to have drinks with friends. I'm just not comfortable doing that, and it doesn't do anything for me.
But
all
you
that
can
I
do
really
it though.
Want to do.
You can do it as a mixologist, though. You can throw down anything.
Well, yeah,
right?
I mean, but I don't have to drink to be a mixologist.
No, of course not. Yeah.
I know what the things taste like, and then the other side of it is I'm trained as a saucier, so I know flavor. Flavor comes easily to me.
What's that?
You're
trained as a what? A voisier?
Saucier, soup, stocks, and sauces.
Right.
A saucier.
A saucier. Oh, okay.
I went.
Sure.
I did the culinary school, and I worked in France, and I know about flavor. So I want to just be, as I said, I want to be very crisp, and knowing that I have a trained palate.
Yeah.
And my palate was nurtured and educated growing up on a farm that's organic and biodynamic. And as I said earlier in the interview, I had a very privileged upbringing, and the food was the best food the money can buy. And whenever we traveled to Europe, we were not eating in hotel rooms.
Yeah.
So, we would go 3 or 4 or 5 times a year, and it was always the very best. So I have to just be very, very strict and say that I didn't grow up eating fast food, and I don't drink, eat it today, and I don't drink soda or anything like that.
Right.
And I'm really just careful and cognizant of my life, and I try to, be peaceful and live a life of wellness. And my drinks, certainly are strong, but I will say that they have a positive bend to them as well.
Yeah. Well, I was born on a farm too. So, it was a wind farm, though. I got in trouble all the time because
wind farm.
Yeah, when my mom called me, I couldn't hear her because the frequency would get absorbed by the blades. That's another story. Anyway, she, I have to spend a little bit of time just before we get going on. I want to get your thoughts. I understand where you're at. I really do understand where you're at, where your palate is, and where your mind is regarding alcohol. I think it's fascinating that it seems to me that you were right in there and you've kind of migrated across the divide, spent some time in 50-50 land, and now you're far more into the infused cannabis version of things than the alcohol version of things. Is that fair to say?
That's absolutely so. And I'm proud to be that person and to be able to harness that energy, because, as I said, my contribution to the alcohol world through using cannabis is not so far off the mark historically.
Yeah.
So all that I can say is that I tried to take ideas that were from another century and reinvent them using modern techniques and modern ingredients.
Wow. That's incredible. So now this sets up my final question for you so very well. I just kind of want to save the moment. But regarding everything you just said, what are your thoughts and what kind of things have you spent time thinking about regarding absinthe? This is another mind-altering substance that is
my
an
God.
alcoholic
No,
beverage.
it's not. It's not mind altering at all. There's
What is it?
nothing in absinthe which is mind altering. There's more of the thujone, which is perceived as mind altering in onions and orange juice than there is in absinthe.
Wow.
So that's completely off mark. It's totally off mark. Absinthe is literally innocuous. The only thing in absinthe that I really worry about is the high alcohol, but I don't worry about anything else.
Could be 148
there's nothing in
proof.
it. It doesn't matter at all. Wormwood is innocuous, and thujone is innocuous, and I get really worked up about that because it's a bad boy, certainly, but it's not bad boy because of the herbs. It's bad boy because of the alcohol, and that's why. There's nothing in absinthe that's going to hurt you in any way. As I said, the active ingredient, quote unquote, in absinthe is something called thujone, and there's more of it in an onion and more of it in orange juice. And your Thanksgiving turkey has more than absinthe. It was invented. The poisonous aspect was invented by the French Wine Council because absinthe drinking was cutting into the wine sales.
Oh.
So they had to vilify it.
What did you say the name of the substance was in there?
I've seen this in France, so I know.
What did you say the main substance that's more in onions is?
It's called thujone. It's thujone.
Oh.
Thujone.
Wow. Huh. Okay.
And that's derived from wormwood.
Right.
And
wow.
wormwood is in, like Angostura Bitters has a ton of wormwood in it. And gin, wormwood sometimes is one of the botanicals in gin, and it just goes on and on. All the different things that wormwood is in that you wouldn't even know it, and you wouldn't even, you'd be like, oh, wormwood, hey, that's great, wormwood.
Yeah.
Well, wormwood was originally found to kill, stomach worms. That's what it was for.
Right.
There wasn't great refrigeration, so the food that they ate gave them worms, and if you took wormwood, you were able to rid your body of that, of that ailment.
That's incredible. Well, I'm certainly glad I asked you about it. That's amazing.
Yeah, I am too. So I worked with a guy named Ted Bro, who does Lucid Absinthe, and a number of other ones that are just incredibly high quality absinthe, and they're extraordinarily expensive. And so I infused them with THC and made things like absinthe frappes, which are pretty amazing.
Wow.
Kind of like a mojito, but with absinthe.
That's incredible. I'm going to have to look into that. See, I've never had it. I've never had it here. When I say here, I mean in North America. I've been told you can't even get the real stuff here anyway. So I've never tried it.
Yeah, no, you can. You can. No, that's not true. That's another lie.
So there is
the absinthe that you get in the United States or Canada is the exact same absinthe that you get in Europe. There's no difference.
Wow. Huh. Okay, well that's going to be of interest too.
There's no difference at all. In fact, the ones that you want to kind of stay away from are the ones that are the shocking colors. Like Lafite Verte is the fluorescent green one.
Right.
You can get that in Nova Scotia. I know because I know you can buy it up in Canada.
Wow.
It's absolutely the same liquid as comes from France or Switzerland. I would steer clear of the ones from like Czechoslovakia. They tend to be poorly made. Switzerland, there's some good ones from Switzerland. France probably has the best. It's all a matter of taste. But if it has a bright color of the liquid, steer away from it because that's artificial color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what's next
and
up?
if you're infusing, of course, you're heating. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. What's next up for you? What's your next big event? I mean, we barely got to you pinned down here.
Next big event, next big event is Tales of the Cocktail down in New Orleans, and I think this is going to be my last year. I'm tired of being dissed for a Spirited Award, and I'm not represented by PR, so I don't have the big money spend that everyone has, and I don't use ghostwriters like so many of the books are ghostwritten that have been nominated and have actually won awards. Ghostwritten books, I just don't get it. I mean, I write for a living, so I can't understand paying someone else to write for me. But go figure.
What is what's
so-
this award you're not winning?
The award is the Spirited Award at Tales of the Cocktail for the best cocktail book.
Oh, okay.
And I've been dissed I was nominated in 2013, and that was the last time I heard from them. So,
Oh gosh.
yeah.
Well,
And my books are truly bestsellers. I mean, they sell thousands and thousands of copies, and more than anyone else. I just don't get it, but that's okay. I don't have to be liked by everyone, and I certainly don't have to, win any awards to be part of the club, because I don't want to be part of the club. I'm already, when I work with weed, that changed everything in alcohol.
You're
So
what they used to
I
call
wanted to,
a maverick. That's what they used to call people like you.
I am absolutely a maverick, but and I'm just doing what I love and what I'm passionate about, and following my dreams, and hopefully I don't go bankrupt again. And I'm living my life as I see fit.
Well, I hope that my pathway crosses yours at some point, because I meet so many fantastic people in this industry and in this series of realizations. I sure would like to get a chance to have an evening with Warren Bobro's whatever's in your mind that day. It would be so great.
Oh my gosh, I'd be so honored. I mean, they say I have a great face for radio, but I really would love to meet you in person, so I have a chance to clasp your hand and say you weren't wrong by having me on your show.
Well, thanks very much. You don't need promotion. You've got your own self-promotion. It's Warren Bobro, folks.
You have to.
He's the mixologist of all things cannabis, and he knows the whole mess. So get onto his page, get onto Amazon. That's all it was, just a rotten nightmare. Now we know the real stuff. So check him out all over the place. Everything is going to be fine.
I really appreciate it.
So glad you came on, and we're looking forward to. I'm going to get Kim set up for the task. We've got some American trip to make. We'll have to hook up with you somehow. But I'm so looking forward to it, Warren. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
It's my pleasure, my brother. I can't wait to meet you.
All right, you too. Be well and travel safely.
Cheers. Thank you.
That's Warren Bobro, everybody. Fantastic. Now he is. I don't know exactly where his next thing is going to be, but imagine just bringing forth everything you like about yourself, taking your own skill set. This guy was a mixologist of all things booze. And once you learn a certain amount of that stuff, you're going to have to, and then apply it to cannabis. That's your skill set that you're bringing to your different existence, which is kind of interesting. But for now, let's do a little commercial here. We have to do this. I've got good news. Check out our producer, Kim Sakamoto. You've probably heard me refer to Kim on and off the show several times. Kim is featured on a new podcast on Podbean called Your Highness Podcast. It's called the Your Highness Podcast. Hosts Diana and, it's one host, sorry. Diana and Kim discuss the challenges of being a content creator in the cannabis space, whatever that means. Oh yeah, this is content right now. So she produces my show and does the social media aspect of presenting it to the world as well. She's very good at it. It became evident that we weren't going to be able to keep her only to ourselves, and Kim has gone off and formed her new business, K-Star Marketing and PR. So this is a good commercial for me, because this is a commercial where I can, I actually endorse and use the product being mentioned, which I have so far done with every sponsor that has had anything to do with the show at this point. But do check this out. Once again, Your Highness Podcast on Podbean. And, yeah, that's what that is. So we can understand that that is available online and forever, like so many of these. Now we're just tucking into the final chunk of the show. I'm still having my head blown about absinthe. Listen to this article. I can't read the whole thing because it's so long, but I'm going to read some of it because it's so great. This is from policyalternatives.ca. Now, this is regarding Canada's new cannabis system, and I know there are a lot of people around the world listening in to us to find out what it is we're doing. A lot of people think it's great, but there are certainly some drawbacks here. So, written by this person, John Akpata. Okay, so it says, a longtime marijuana activist tries to make sense of Canada's new cannabis capitalism. I find myself poised between astonishment and outrage at the miserable marijuana monstrosity that's been bred by the Trudeau government and sold to doting Canadians as, quote, legalization. You might think that legalization without decriminalization is paradoxical, that one cannot exist without the other. You might believe that law is based on logic and facts. My skeptical nature had me anticipating that legalization actually meant financialization. That is, a regulated framework of legal and financial engineering that would create a new series of aristocrats. The Canadian marijuana entrepreneur. My healthy distrust of government had me predicting that legalization would also continue to oppress and criminalize minorities and the poor. 2 years ago, I speculated it's going to get worse before it gets better, and now Bills C-45 and C-46 are slouching towards Ottawa to be born. Well, they're already going through. Of course, this was written on March 1st, so they're going through and they've made changes. The senators have made changes. The government rejected 14 or 15 of those or so. Send it back to the Senate. It's bouncing around like a ping pong ball and making just as much sense, trajectory-wise. This fella has been a member of the Marijuana Party since 2004, has run in the last 5 federal elections, and currently is a peace officer for the party. I've had to consistently deconstruct the flawed thinking of reefer madness. I've had to face the Medusa of racism that hides in the history of Emily Murphy. I've had the slings and arrows of every Cheech and Chong joke. I've smiled at every Jimi Hendrix or Bob Marley reference. I've risked my personal and professional reputation by aligning myself with something that was thought to be immoral, dangerous, and criminal. The members of the Marijuana Party have been unified by one common ideology: cannabis should not be criminalized. Of course, we have a lot of police officers here that feel the other way around. Of course, a lot of those police officers are deeply invested into the companies that will be strictly and licensed producers selling this stuff. In order to defend this position, that cannabis should not be criminalized, I've had to study botany, science, and the policies of Health Canada and Veterans Affairs Canada and the law. I am now, as I have always been, in a bit of a haze at the reasoning of it all. So here's a well-studied man in a lot of different aspects, still can't make sense of it. That makes me feel better. Having marijuana or cannabis included in the schedule of the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act and enforcing that with the criminal code is outrageous. It is non-logical. It defies the laws of nature, science, and the will of the people. I think this guy's been listening to my show. No, I'm not going to say that. It's just that I have said all of these things so many times. Of course, that's why this article caught my eye. I'm not the only one saying these things. I'm just the only one saying it on this show. Marijuana prohibition is a monster roaming the countryside that kicks indoors and takes property away, takes children away from their parents. Yeah. Got a big furor kicking around the States about that right now, but we've already got lots of policies, and Canada's already had lots of policies where children get taken away from their parents. Now they're acting like Trump's the first guy to ever do it. Handcuffs people and saddles them with a criminal record. Did I jump in there quick enough? It does, the policies. Oh yeah, handcuffs the people and saddles them with a criminal record. Humans become outcasts before they can apply for a pardon or a record suspension, as it's now called. Yet Bill C-45 is creating a monopoly for the rich, and Bill C-46 will let the police continue to beat down the poor. So I'm going to read some more of this next week. This great article. If you don't want to wait for that, go to policyalternatives.ca. Canadian Center for Policy Alternatives is what that means, and have this article at your desktop or your phone, March 1st, 2018, and the title is a longtime marijuana activist, tries to make sense of Canada's new cannabis capitalism. That's John Akpata doing that. And a great article, fantastic, very well written, for sure. So just on the way out, I will say that I'm very glad that Warren Bobrow was on the show tonight. Thank you very much. We are bringing on some guests we've had on before, trying to line that up. We had one lined up, and he had a Brexit emergency session over there in England. Paul Flynn, the parliamentarian from the Labour Party. And regardless of your take on government, he is in the government. And he does have lots to say that's really refreshing and wonderful about cannabis. But next week we have a fantastic show. And we always have a fantastic show because I learn something every single week, and I'm always in here, doing it. But I'm very excited about next week's episode. Next week is going to embrace things of a comedic nature to do with cannabis. Raise your fists any way we can. So we'll see you next week on Green Crush Conspiracy Queries with Alan Park as the Clydesdale train of horses, bringing in the hope and understanding of the cannabis world is at hand, folks. And we will see you next week as it brings in even more information. This is Alan Park, Green Crush Conspiracy Queries, out.